Hey everybody, it's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. Sorry for the slight delay. I'm currently still uploading overlays for a possible boardroom or ballroom of Alex and Kelly's wedding. So trying to get some last minute logistical things settled before we officially get started here. Just want to make sure we have all that stuff documented. And also, Morgan has yet to arrive. So we will wait on Morgan before we officially start. Let's see. I'm going to go through the chat just real quick before she gets here. Anthony says, this should be fun. I've never been so conflicted as I am with these finale episodes. When it was good, it was great. But when it was bad, boy, was it bad. I think I need an intervention. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Some good and some kind of cringy things. But we'll get to that as soon as we can. So let me see. I'm going to go through just check in on everybody. Yeah, everybody seems to be feeling a lot of things in the chat. So we will get through this together. So it looks like Morgan is with us. Hello. Everything. Oh yeah, you got your Supergirl jacket thing on. Yeah,
I'm all ready.
Nice. All right.
I'm feeling a lot of things, emotions.
All right. Well, we will officially get started here in a second. And so if you have any thoughts you want to share, drop them in the chat. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because her outfit,
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series. I've been doing this for 6 years. Screw it up in the finale episode. Your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to discuss and review the Supergirl Season 6 episodes and 2-hour series finale titled The Last Gauntlet and Kara. And just so everyone knows, it looks like StreamYard is having some issues streaming to Facebook. So I just want everybody to know that. So if you see anybody on Facebook, tell them to come over to YouTube because something is going.
StreamYard, don't they know this is an important episode?
This is an important stream. So if
kind of a big one.
If you see anybody over there on watching on Facebook, just holler at them and tell them to come over to YouTube. YouTube's where the party is anyway. So so let them know on Facebook if you get a chance. I'll try to pop in there in a second. But if you see anybody over there, please let them know. So yeah, this is a big live stream, big episode of Supergirl Radio. This is something that we've been kind of we've known about it for a while, but now it's actually happened. The end of the show has arrived.
I wasn't ready.
I was ready, but then somehow not ready at the same time. So we will get into all of that. And just so everybody knows, we're going to get to tweets and snap judgments for this episode, but emails we're probably going to hold off on to next week because, Morgan, we had a lot of emails, a lot of people with a lot of thoughts. So just due to time, because we know we have to talk about 2 episodes. So that's it's going to take up a lot of the stream and a lot of the episode this week. So we'll hold off on emails until the season 6 retrospective. So if you don't hear your emails, that's why. So we'll get to those next week. But first, we need to get to
the news.
Ooh, a new graphic.
Trying some new things, trying to
upgrade.
Upgrading. I don't know if people noticed there were a few slight differences to the opening, and now we have a few new little graphics. So trying to jazz it up for the finale episode.
My gosh, I'm not for these new graphics. Okay, so the news. Now that Supergirl will no longer be airing episodes on Tuesdays, we are taking Tuesday nights back for Supergirl Radio. That's right. Superman and Lois, we said it. We meant it. We're coming for you. So Tuesday nights will now once more be the Supergirl Radio live stream. So starting next week, we're going to be going live on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Which was originally the time we had for years and years and years. And then it got shifted and we had to bounce around during the week. So now we are Tuesdays for forevermore.
Beaker is excited about our triumphant return to Tuesdays. Beaker,
he's back there
tell
somewhere.
us how you feel, buddy. Don't jump up there, though. Seriously. Don't. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're looking at. I don't want you to do it.
It looks like he's looking for something to read, maybe. But he does look like maybe he's trying to hop
He
on
looks
something.
like he's got a plan or something, and I don't like it. Gonna hear a meow and just see the cat like flail at a wall or something.
If we hear something crash, we'll know what's
it's a problem.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're looking for us in the week starting next week, we're going to be on Tuesdays. So look forward to that. We're taking it back. And speaking of which, we wanted to let everybody know to save the date for November 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern because we will be having another call-in show. So if you enjoyed the first one we did, which was on actually Supergirl's birthday / the date that the show was announced to be ending. So
what a fun party that was.
That was a real fun party. So we had cupcakes, we had a therapy session. It was great. It was great. So if you enjoyed that call-in show, we're going to be doing that same format again on November 30th. We'll be talking about the legacy of the CW Supergirl TV series, and you'll have the opportunity to join us on the live stream to discuss the series as a whole and what you hope future interpretations of the character might use from the show. It's now added to the mythology, so we're going to be talking about what we would want future Supergirl stories or future TV shows or future movies to take from the CW Supergirl TV series. So during the live stream, we'll include a StreamYard link in the video description, and that will send you to our backstage where we can bring you in. So that will be hopefully pretty easy. It seemed like people were able to do that in our first call-in show. So get your thoughts ready, bring all your thoughts and feelings, and we'll bring you on to the live stream. So I think that would be a lot of fun to hear from everybody else. And so just make sure you save that date and keep in touch with us for that. Okay, well, Morgan, I guess we should just pull the trigger and just start talking about this 2-hour series finale.
All right.
So we are going to first talk about the I guess the technically the penultimate episode of the
Love that
series.
it was just like 2 episodes smushed together and not like a true 2-hour series finale. We wouldn't want that.
Well, Veronica, the description writer, made sure to distinguish between the two. So we'll get
Thank you,
to
Veronica. Thank you.
Veronica coming in clutch here at the very end. She wanted to give us everything we wanted in these official descriptions right before the end of the show. So we are going to discuss the 2-hour series finale of Supergirl through each of the episodes. So the first one we'll discuss is titled The Last Gauntlet, and here is the official description. Veronica writes, quote, in the penultimate buildup of the season finale, Supergirl and the Super Friends take drastic action after a loved one is kidnapped by Nixley and Lex. An unlikely ally, I screwed that up. An unlikely ally steps in to help the team, unquote. So Veronica made sure to add the penultimate in there. So I really, really
Good
appreciate
job.
it. Such a Supergirl Radio thing for her to do for this episode. All right.
Such a solid move for her, because that was one of my favorite things about the episode. Just being able to say the word penultimate.
So we'll have to say it a lot in this first discussion of this first episode. So I guess the big part about this first hour of the 2-hour series finale, the penultimate episode, was that the Super Friends were trying to figure out how to get Esme back from Nixley and Lex. She's been kidnapped, and there's a whole thing about exchanging the totems for Esme. But there are 2 different plans here. Alex wants to make the exchange with the totems and kind of pay a ransom, if you will. And Supergirl wants to try to supercharge herself using satellites and the sun to do so. So, Morgan, what did you think about the 2 plans? And did you think one was better than the other?
No, they were both bad. It's hard to really pick which was the worst one, because Alex's plan was like, let's just give them everything that they want, and like, sure, let's hope that they're benevolent rulers in the future. Not a great plan. And then Kara's was like, let's supercharge me with the sun. It's going to like take out the sun for a while. And the sun is like a little bit necessary for like living on Earth. And so that's going to be a bummer for like a lot of people, but not me. I'm going to be great. Like, I'm going to be living my best life. I'm going to be more powerful than I've ever been. And yeah, so neither of those plans, in my opinion, were good or reasonable plans. So it's really it's like a spy versus spy, but like both spies are bad at their job kind of situation. Like, there's really no winners here, I think, is the long and the short of it. I feel like Alex's plan was understandably bad, but like Kara's was like a real puzzler for me. It's like, Kara, you thought just taking down the sun totally is just gonna.
Well, Morgan, she was just going to put it back.
She's gonna fix it back. She was gonna fix the sun somehow. And I guess like in her mind, right? She's like, well, I threw the hope totem into the sun. And then it just popped back up. Like, so in maybe in her mind, she's like, you know what? Everything's coming up, Kara. Let's just Brainy told me it's going to be okay, and he's never wrong except for how he's almost always wrong. So let's just really go with this. And I was like, Kara, girl, are you sure? I know he keeps saying he's smart, but do we know that he's smart? And I also like that she decided to do it. Like, I'm going to jump around a little bit, but she decided to do it in the middle of the city, where it was going to cause like the most chaos and confusion. She was like, all right, Brainy, I'm downtown when everybody's commuting home. Hit me. And I was like, are you sure you don't want to just like go out into a field somewhere and do this? She was like, no, I need an audience. I'm Supergirl. And I was like, okay.
Right. And how does that jive with the introduction of this season of their like, we don't want to look bad in the public.
Think?
Yeah. Do you think that the whole introduction of we don't want to like look bad in the public eye? Do you think that was building towards this? Is that somehow connected?
I mean, I think that's a generous read. Let's put it that way. Because I don't think that you would need to have like a certain amount of distrust to be like, hey, the sun's going out and it looks like she's stealing it.
It's obviously Supergirl.
Why is she doing that? That seems messed up. I don't think that you would need to have any level of distrust in Supergirl to be like, is she stealing the sun? Like, did we okay that? Like, I don't think that you need a build up for that. My other favorite thing was like she was getting more and more powerful with the sun, so that she could hear the conversation of a person like 10 feet away from her. She has
super hearing.
I was like just screaming into a pillow at that point. I was like, she has super hearing. Like Al and his buddy aren't that far away, right? Like she could have heard them normally. Like she's literally in the middle of the city. Like she is not in a confined area. She's not somewhere doing this where it's far away. She is like downtown in the middle of traffic doing this, and like she's like, I don't know why people are concerned about this. Why is everyone looking at me? Girl, you're making a spectacle of yourself. Literally making a spectacle. What's the military trying to do? Stopping my plan to kill the sun. Why can't people be cool? Supergirl, come on, man. Come on. I like that also Lena was the only one that was like, hi, the sun is needed for like just a wide variety of things. I know that we all think of
ocean currents, climate, plant life,
growing things. I know that we all think of me as your friendly witch here, and that's what I'm really committed to being now. But I used to be a scientist, and I think that we need the sun. Like I feel like there was a whole Twilight Zone episode about what happens when that goes out, and I feel like it ended in kind of a bad way. And Kara's like, Lena, look at me. Shh. Go make a poultice. And I was like, okay, so we're just ignoring Lena now. Okay, that's cool.
Well, and even Lena was like, you can't do this. She'll be playing God. And I was like, Lena would know. Lena would know.
Lena was like, excuse me, as someone who briefly decided to make the world better against their will. I've been giving a lot of speeches in this episode, and I think that what you're doing feels a little bit like what I was doing when things were just kind of spiraling out of my control. But and Kara's like, no, it's totally different. I'm killing the sun. And Lena's like, oh, okay. Well, if you put it that way.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with Alex's plan because she seemed really selfish. She was like, I don't care if they like get all that power and rule the world as long as my thing is, fixed. It doesn't matter.
But
And that was so
I think there was an
selfish.
argument like that was like, well, it's I mean, in the short term you'll have your daughter back, but in the long term your daughter's going to grow up under kind of a despot rule,
Tyrannical rule.
Yeah. So maybe not the best plan. My other favorite thing in that section, the other part of the episode that I just like legit screamed into a pillow during, was like when Supergirl gets the Destiny totem and Alex just like walks up and like grabs the totem out of her hand, and Supergirl's like, what can I do? She took it. And then Alex like slowly walks away, and Supergirl's like, nothing doing, you guys. Couldn't have prevented that. And I was like, she didn't even run. Kara. She just power walked away from you. You are Supergirl. It was, yeah, that was a tough moment for me as well. It's like, you could stop her. You could just stop her.
Did it take you a second to figure out how she got there? I was very confused. It wasn't until my second viewing I was like, oh, I guess she had like a transmat portal.
I think everybody's got a portal watch. I was chatting with I believe it was like the Gay Gals Watch podcast, and they haven't been watching for a while. At least one of the girls hasn't been watching for a while, and so they were like, how does everybody have a portal watch now? Like, how are people getting around magically? I was like, oh yeah, no, everyone has a portal watch now. I don't know when that happened. Honestly, I couldn't pinpoint it for you, but everyone does, including the villains. Everyone has a portal watch. So
Now that's kind of putting a little bit of a hole in the William death thing.
I mean, there were already a
'Cause-
lot of holes in that William Death thing. They didn't give
'cause
him a portal watch.
They didn't give him one. And then if Jean had been like scanning the tower or whatever, like they would have known something was wrong, and Alex or Kelly or whoever could have like portaled into the tower.
No one cared about William at all. Like, not even in the least amount. They didn't give him. I bet that they didn't even put up the in case of emergency numbers on the fridge. I think they were just like, "You're gonna be fine." He's like, I'm sorry. Isn't somebody trying to kill you guys and get all these totems that you have? And they're like, no, it's cool. We're gonna go at a party. You're good with her? You're good with her? He's like, do you want to leave me the name or number of her doctor? And they're like, nah, she's good. Bye. Like, they didn't give him a portal watch. He could have just
not a
called
signal
any of
watch.
them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. I was at least, even though the sun getting supercharged by the sun was kind of a dumb plan, I liked that it made it seem like Supergirl was going to take an active role in whatever this was.
No.
And I really wanted Kara's idea to work, because Alex was so combative in that first episode, and I was just like, why? I don't like this at all. I don't know why they waited until like the last couple of episodes to like really like try to skewer the Danvers sisters. And so at that point I was like, Alex, I'm over you. I'm done with you. I don't like anything you're doing. And I was pulling for Kara's idea to work, even though it was so dumb.
They were both such bad ideas, but I was so annoyed with Alex in the first episode. And like, to your point, I feel like they've been mostly ignoring the Danvers sister relationship this like back half of the season since Kara's been back. Like, there was like maybe 1 or 2 good episodes with them, and then nothing pretty much for the last few. And once they remembered, like, oh, we should have some Danvers sister stuff, they're like, what do people like when they fight? No, that's not what the people like. And so I feel like all they've been doing recently is fighting, which is not super fun to see. It's like also a weird way to go out with these characters that have always been like really supportive of each other and good sisters, is to have them like constantly at each other's throats, and like to have Alex be like, well, sorry, Kara, I'm just going to have to take this and you're just going to have to deal with it. And I was like, she literally doesn't, because she's Supergirl. She's letting you take that. She's letting you take that.
Well, and also Alex was like, if your plan fails, I'm never gonna forgive you. Like, it was so like she jumped to like crazy town,
Yeah,
for no reason, and I couldn't get over that. I just was kind of like, oh, I don't like that. But I was a little disappointed in some way that the supercharging thing got called off, and I understand why it did, because A, she was destroying the sun. B, she was doing it in front of everybody, and it was a little ridiculous. And then I understand that she was like, power, seizing power is what our enemies do and all that. But I thought the idea of the power theme, for lack of a better word, I don't really know if it's a theme. Technically,
she had the power.
But I thought the idea of exploring power, or at least in my mind, maybe this is not the intention of the writers, is that power can be good and power can be bad, determining who is wielding it. That's how I feel about it. Like, you can put good people in charge with some power, and they can, if they choose to, they can do good with it. So I was kind of hoping that was where they were going with it, but they just dumped the idea of having power altogether. And I guess I don't know if we want to jump straight to the idea of because this is the episode. Is this the episode where the next episode is where she gives the hope speech. So
her patented hope speech.
We'll talk about that in the actual technical finale episode. But
it was like they remembered that they had said earlier in the season that the theme was going to be about power, and they got to like the penultimate episode and they were like, ooh, did we forget that power thing? Let's just really hammer it home. Let's hammer it so hard that people are like, stop. Because that's what it kind of felt like to me. She was like, ooh, all this power. And everybody was mentioning, oh, the power. And I was like, oh no. This episode is brought to you by the word power.
They definitely used it in this last 2 episodes to really bring that idea home. But I just thought, why can't Supergirl use her power? Why is that a bad thing? Why couldn't she use her power to do something good? So I was a little confused about that idea. So both of those ideas seem to sort of blow up in their faces, somewhat literally. Because when they go to make the exchange with Nixley and Lex, things don't go so well.
So I have a lot of questions about that portion of the episode.
Okay.
This bridge. Did we know about this bridge?
I was trying to remember, and I didn't have a chance to go back and look it up because they did mention the Omega Hedron. They mentioned the Fort Roz crash site, which I was like, okay, so they do sort of remember season 1. But did the Omega Hedron, somebody in the chat let us know, did it explode? Because that's what it sounded like. I just remember like General Lane and Maxwell Lord like
having
it at the end of season 1.
And then it feel like it was like a thing that they were setting up for season 2, and then it moved networks and maybe some ideas about what season 2 was going to end up being, and then it never came back into play. So I was surprised when they were like, yes, when the Omega Hedron exploded. I was like, on this show that happened? On this show or on the better show that runs parallel where everything happens?
Yeah, people in the chat are confirming some of our suspicions. Emma's saying the Omega Hedron didn't blow up in season 1. It was taken by Lane and Max. Leslie said there is no bridge from season 1. Daryl said Lex said it exploded. Ollie's saying nope, never heard about the bridge before. Claudia's saying it was literally a bridge in the middle of nowhere. Even Hagel Blast said Fort Roz crash site was in the desert, no trees, streams, and we didn't see a bridge.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, once again, for plot reasons that one could argue as writers you could make different because you are in charge of.
It's a post-crisis, post-Amadeus world. You can everything is just within your imagination.
So for plot reasons, they made up this bridge and then tried to gaslight into us to believing it existed all along. Because they do have that power.
They do.
And they're not using it responsibly. So I'm sitting there going like, wait, what? Did I miss an episode? Do I not remember this episode? All these things are possible. And I was like, oh my God, the Omega Hedron exploded? Like, I don't know. What are they talking about? It sounds like word salad. So they basically make up like a MacGuffin, like a plot MacGuffin, so that they can all have this fight on the bridge without powers. But then like immediately they get powers in the fight. And so one begins to wonder, why did they have to make up the non-powered bridge? Also, it's a bridge where not only powers don't work, but all technology doesn't work. And that seems like a stretch. Why would that be the case? This seems like a very convenient bridge that we've never visited before. Could have been useful in other situations.
Yeah, Electra WWF says, here's a question. Wasn't the exchange site supposed to make them all unable to use their powers and tech? And yet they still did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no. No, that was a tough moment for me watching the show. Because once again, I've been complaining about this all season, but they'll set up something specifically and then undermine it, sometimes in the same scene. It used to be like scenes apart, they'd undermine it, or like episodes apart, they'd undermine it. And now it's happening within lines of each other. So now they're going like, we have to go to the no power, no technology bridge. And like, as soon as they get to the bridge, they're like, pew, 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 pew. And they never explain why they can use it.
Yeah, Not Sure says, they said that no powers or tech works near where it exploded, but those bombs seem to work pretty well.
Yeah, are those those not considered technology now? And now are we going to have to get into the nitty-gritty of what is considered to be technology? Like, I can understand like a no powers bridge. Like, I can buy that. But once you get into no powers and no technology, then I'm like, wait, why is it a Wi-Fi dead zone? Like, what? Does Verizon not cover this bridge? Like, I don't understand why the technology. And then what is like, what is art? Like, what is technology? Like,
Art is paintings of horses. We all know this.
I still think art is that scene where the guy died for the sandwich in blind spots. But
I would kill for a sandwich right now.
I'd kill for a sandwich. Be careful of your words. But like it didn't. Oh God, the bridge really killed me. That was a bridge to nowhere for me.
Adeline says, "Are Lillian's electric shoes not considered technology either?"
They certainly are.
That's a great point. Yeah, I was really confused when I was initially watching it because when Alex was looking for a weapon, like in the arsenal of the tower, I was like, "What? She's got that hand of the soldier thing. Why does she?" And I was like, "Oh, they said no tech or superpowers, but they did still work."
I will say, when she was going through the weapons room and like just grabbing giant guns off the wall, I did have myself a little laugh because I was like, guns are bad though, right?
Guns are so bad. Nobody should have guns.
Except Alex.
Except everyone at the tower.
Alex is like, no one should have guns. As she like just straps up Rambo style. It's like, I don't understand what the show wants me to think.
And even when Akrata shows up at the tower, Lena points a gun at her.
Well, Lena never agreed to that.
Lena did stand up for the Second Amendment. She was always
Lena was like, I'm a big fan of guns. Pew, 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 pew.
That's true.
She's like, sometimes you just got to put on your murder and leather jacket and you got to go to town. I'm like, Lena, no. Lena, we've talked about this.
Very consistent for Lena Luthor. So that seems to jive pretty well. That's character correct.
But yeah, no, the bridge made my brain feel melty. So I'm glad it wasn't something that I forgot about, and it was just something that they pulled out of nowhere for the penultimate episode. It's fun to get new established lore one episode from the end of your show. What you want to do, and this is like definitely show writing. So this is like a masterclass. It's just keep establishing new things as you go towards your finale. And they don't have to be small new things either. Is one of your characters secretly a witch? You're going to want to pull that out maybe 5 episodes from the end.
Even better, though, you want to go back to the beginning, circle back to the beginning, and then change the beginning.
You're going to want to rewrite that whole thing for her. It turns out she was in STEM against her will. The science was what was holding her back from her magic.
Change Lena's story, change the Fort Ross thing, just really clean slate. Just redo everything. That's what viewers and fans really want is if you change everything that they've been paying attention to for 6 years. That's really what fans of a show.
That's usually what I'm looking for towards the end of a long running show is like, what if you just messed up my whole conception of what I've been watching for like the past 5 to 6 years? I really want you to like have fun, play mind games with me, make me believe I missed an episode where an Omega Hedron exploded. We're all having fun here. Like watching the show going, I've been watching this the whole time, right? Like, what episodes did I miss? And the writers are like, none.
Okay, so we'll talk about this at some point. I think in our discussion of the Kara episode, the series finale. But there do seem to be different versions that air in Canada. Maybe we've been watching a version of the show that's not the same version. Maybe there's a separate. Like a completely separate version of the entire series.
I want to believe that there's a version of Supergirl that's been airing in Canada that is like airtight and logical. And sometimes when like people get mad at us on Twitter, it's because they've been watching that version.
It
And they're
makes
like,
so much
why are you
sense.
so mad at this great show that never has any plot holes? We love Supergirl, the show that makes complete sense over here in Canada. Like, what are you talking about?
That would make so much sense. I will say that for that fight with the bridge when they were trying to make the exchange with Esme and Nixley, I really liked some of the camera work. I think what I did like about the two episodes that made up the 2-hour series finale is that the show was taking some chances, I thought, in the way it presented the story and the fights, and the way that they took chances with like coloring and camera work and shot composition. And so that I thought was great. I thought some of the direction and the camera operation was awesome. Some of the the 360 camera going around some of the fights, I thought that was awesome because you could actually like focus on whatever part of the fight you wanted to. Like I was mostly watching Alex and Sentinel and Guardian fight Lex, and it was kind of fun because Lex would like throw Sentinel into Guardian into the shield, and so you could see some of these like really smaller details within the fight because you could see the entire thing and you could pick what part of the fight you wanted to watch. And so I thought that was cool. I thought that whole like 360 camera stuff was really cool.
That was cool. Was this one Glenn Winters who directed this?
I believe so.
I think so. Yes, Glenn Winter. And he's done a bunch of, I feel like not just Supergirl, but like a bunch of different superhero shows in general.
Was he the one who directed the Smallville pilot?
I think so. And I think he did a couple episodes of Smallville as well. So I think he's pretty familiar with the genre. Like the fights were very well directed and like very like dynamic and fun to watch, I thought, which was pretty cool. Because sometimes on the show with some budget constraints, some of the fights can get a little hokey, if we're being honest. And this one I thought was really well like choreographed in that there was a lot of stuff going on. You could really kind of follow the action and it was dramatic. And I really liked that.
Glenn Winter also, I just looked it up, he directed the Supergirl pilot as well. So it was nice that he came back towards the end to kind of wrap up the show. So I think Glenn Winter is, to your point, I think he's a master at the genre and he knows what he's doing when he's directing these superhero TV shows. So I thought he took some chances to mix it up for some of these things, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I like the directing in this one. It felt very confident and like, he knew what he wanted to put on the screen, and I like that.
Yeah, so that I thought was good. So one of the big surprises for me in this episode was the return of a character that we both love. So we'll talk more about her in the second episode we're going to talk about. But so what did you think about the return of Lillian Luthor?
Love her. Love Lillian. So glad she was back. I was like, finally, we got a real villain up here. Not to say anything mean about Lex and Nixley. They're adorable. But Lillian Luthor, she is an MVP. She walks into a room. She takes over that room. She walks in. She's like, Lex, I don't like what's going on. I don't like your new girlfriend.
She really meddled in their relationship.
She was like, oh, yeah, you like her? I don't think so. I don't think so. Lex. She's never getting an invite to Luthor Thanksgiving, and Luthor Thanksgiving is terrifying. So her loss. I liked her like all white ensemble. Like she was like, "This is me. Look at how angelic I am here. It's me, Lillian Luthor, just a concerned mama bear."
Yeah,
can I kill your girlfriend?
Yeah, it was a dynamic thing to put Lillian in all white, which obviously there's a reason for that, because when you're about to kill a character, you want to put them in white.
Of the angels.
Because you want the ability to see their injury on the whites. If it's blood, or in Lillian's case, I think there was like some black stuff on her her
I think it was
blouse.
a singe. She got singed.
So there's a reason that she was wearing white, so that we would be able to see her injury after she got mortally wounded. But I thought it was cool that she was in white and facing up with Nixley, who was in all black. So I thought that was a dynamic contrast within their scenes. But yeah, I did think the Nixley Lillian stuff was actually really juicy to watch, because it seemed like Nixley already knew who she was when she walked in. Like,
Yeah.
had Lex been talking to Nixley about his mom, like complaining about his mom?
My mom is such a chore. I'm gonna introduce you to her, but I'm gonna wait for a while because she can just be a little too much. And Nixley's like, I don't care. And Lex is like, let me tell you about this one thing my mom did when she bought my sister a horse, but I never got a horse. Lex wanted a horse, but he didn't get a horse. And Nixley's like, I can't hear about the horses anymore, Lex. I swear to God. That's in my head. That's what they've mostly been talking about. Is all the horseback riding he didn't get to do as a child, and that kind of explains their very abrupt breakup in these last 2 episodes. Nixie's like, I'm out.
Yeah, it was funny to see that Lillian did manage to get inside Nixley's mind. Nixley was like, "No, you can't mess with me. I'm totally secure in what I'm doing here." And then she planted a seed of doubt, which I thought was pretty great. It's very classic Lillian Luthor.
It was great. It was Nixie was like, listen, I know what I'm about. You can't, I've heard all about you. You can't get into my head. And Lillian like just kind of gets close and was like, can't I? And Nixie's like, oh my God, I'm questioning everything. And that is the power of Lillian Luthor. I cannot believe she was done so dirty by this show, but I'm glad that we got her back for one final episode. I love that she was part of the final battle for no reason that I could figure out, if I'm being honest. It's like, what is she doing here? She would never go out into battle where she might smudge that perfect, pristine white pantsuit. There's no way. And she had like the special, like, I don't know, shoes that electrocute you.
Yeah.
Love that energy that she was bringing to that battle. Where do you
She
get
came
those?
prepared.
She did come prepared. She was like, I told Lena all about these shoes. Like, Lena got this idea from me.
Ermgard says in the chat, Brenda said she does this thing where she will circle around a character like an anaconda goes around its prey. And yeah, I think that's what she did with Nixley. And I thought that was a great choice. It was really fun to see the two of them because they're both really great actresses. I have such a respect for Peta Sargent now after this season, because she, despite what's, some of the choices with Nixley, I think she like really knocked it out of the park, and her performance is really stellar. And to see her go up against Brenda Strong was such a treat for me personally. So I really enjoyed their scene.
Yeah, I loved their scene together, and I thought it was so well done. And like you mentioned, I loved Nixley. I liked Nixley this season. I thought she was a good foe when she was kind of allowed to be, and was a good villain that kind of had some pathos and some backstory to her. And then Lex kind of took over her story, as he does with a lot of things on this show. But until then, I was really loving the Nixley stuff. So I did like that she got to go against like one of the OG villains on the show, which is our girl Lillian Luthor. I see in the chat, Linda has a question, which I also do. What happened to Mixie? It feels like doesn't Lex like let Mixie out, or like use the Mixie energy? Does that mean Mixie's dead?
No, it sounded like, and I think this is kind of jumping ahead to the technical series finale, but
was that in the second part?
Well, I think the release of the Mixie stuff is in this episode. But when in the finale mentions that Mixie's been hanging around the Legion in the future, so Mixie seems to be alive and well, because he was going to get Alex and Kelly a wedding present, but it had to be under $40. So
that's right. It's okay, because I would have loved to see him, is the thing. They put him in a magic globe and then they released him, and then I guess he like immediately just went off screen. He was like, "Goodbye."
Well,
And then,
they had to do a lot of other things with the budget. They couldn't afford Thomas Lennon.
that's
So
true.
they
That's
just
true.
had to mention him when he was not on screen. So I guess, you gotta
You can't
prioritize
have it
other
all.
things.
You can't have it all. You can't have Callista Flockhart and Thomas Lennon and everybody else. I understand. I would have loved to see Mixie again. He was such a great character. Could have been could have been like a quick scene. It would have been great to see him again. But I'm glad that he didn't stay in that little snow globe the whole time. So
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed, and I guess again, this is probably due to budgetary reasons, but it would have been really interesting to see him in that globe. Like, what was he doing in there? Like, was he doing things to prevent Nixley from doing things because he was in there? I wish we could have seen stuff like that, but I'm sure it was a budget thing that they just couldn't do it. We just had to assume he was in there doing something. But yeah, he sort of sacrificed himself for them, and I kind of think he deserved a little better in the end. So one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about before we end our discussion about the Last Gauntlet was something that I found strange about the writing was that twice in the episode, Alex says that she wants to kill Lex. She says to Lex, she says, "If you hurt my daughter, I will kill you." And then she says, "I will kill Lex with my bare hands." And I just thought it was strange. Maybe it's just me and how I interpret foreshadowing. If you have a character say, "I'm going to kill you," there needs to at least be an attempt.
like shouldn't she have gotten like maybe even gotten close or like fought him? I don't know. Yeah, I agree.
I just think from a writing standpoint, if you're gonna have a character repeat several times that I'm gonna kill that person, there should be you should pay that off.
Like, what if Alex had the opportunity to kill Lex? Like, she got the upper hand and she decided not to because, like, that's not the person.
That's too much power.
What a great moment that would have been for her. And she could have been like, you know what? I have the power, but I'm ceding the power away.
Yeah.
I am not going to take down the sun. The crops need it, like like what if she had the actual opportunity to kill Lex and chose not to? What a powerful moment that would have been
what
for
a great
Alex.
character moment.
What a great character beat that could have been for her. So we don't want that.
Yeah, I just thought that kind of bugged me in the episode. And I guess playing into the power theme of it all, that her saying that was because she felt powerless, I guess, to a degree. Alex admits to Kelly that she feels powerless over what happened to Esme, and she sort of refers to it as her kryptonite. So I guess that was sort of all playing into it. She was lashing out at Lex because she didn't feel powerful. So I guess saying "I'm gonna kill you" made her feel powerful, I guess. But I just think from a writing standpoint, don't ever just, if you're an aspiring writer, here's my advice: don't have a character say "I'm going to kill you" if they're not going to actually kill somebody.
Or get close or have a decision to make about whether or not to do that. Like,
there should be a reason they say that.
It felt like it was a like kind of the definition of like an idle threat. Like, she gets nowhere close to killing Lex. Or
I mean, they fight, but it's not
fight. But yeah,
but it's from the 360 camera where you're not like intimate with them as they're fighting.
Yeah, like I knew that I remembered that they fought, but it was like a kind of a chaotic fight scene. Like I remember Lillian Luthor electrocuting, what was it, Jean with her special electric shoes. So like there was a lot going on in that fight.
Yeah, so that just bugged me, and I wanted to mention it. And the other thing that I wanted to mention about this is they go to the ruins of Saint Vasilis Cathedral in Prague, and I was just curious if anybody else had looked that up, because I couldn't find a Saint Vasilis Cathedral in Prague. I think it's a fictional place. There is a Saint Vitus Cathedral, so I guess they just sort of used that as inspiration and just used a different cathedral name. So I don't think that was a real place that they went to.
Did you find the Destiny Gauntlet to be kind of hilarious?
The thread? It was a little too on the nose, I thought.
But like, was the Destiny Gauntlet like, you will have to see a bunch of flashes really quickly? you have passed.
There wasn't really anything. I guess maybe if she had flinched or if she had stopped or something, she faced it.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, no, you just showed me those things and I saw them with my mind's eye, and now I guess we're good. I was like,
Yeah, she didn't really
really?
have to
I mean,
do much to earn it.
I get that they were, we're out of time to do these gauntlets, but like, once again, here we go. Could have been a Supergirl character moment in this television show called Supergirl, in which the penultimate episode is all about Supergirl's sister's daughter being kidnapped and how that's affecting Supergirl's sister, really. And
then we watch an episode where Supergirl's sister gets married and has a happy ending. Yeah,
we're so happy for Supergirl's sister. But it just felt like, okay, well, this could be a nice Kara moment. Like she defeats the gauntlet because she's not been doing great with these gauntlets, let's be honest. And no, she just kind of watched some stuff and she was like, cool, I'm good. And it was like, you are good. And I was like, really? That was it? Like it didn't have to get into her character at all. She just had to watch some stuff. In that way, I've defeated the Destiny Gauntlet because I watched 6 seasons of this show. And some of them have been a challenge for me.
And to your point, the stuff that she saw was mostly just the destruction of what Nixley and Lex were going to be doing, right? It wasn't anything about Kara specifically and personally.
Much like much of the season.
Yeah, that could have been a place where you could show Kara her destiny. But then I would probably not like that, though, because I want Kara to be able to choose her destiny for herself. I don't want somebody to force her to, like, you have to make this choice because you saw it in the destiny totem. So I don't know. That's
I feel like I'm gonna have a lot.
Choice.
I'm gonna have a lot to say about like random time travel destiny things in the next episode. But yes, I agree with that. Like, but it was just such a strange. Like, here's the final gauntlet. Maybe this one is gonna be about Kara and her character, and it's like, no, it's not.
No,
we need more Lex and Nixley. What we really want to do is we want to deep dive into that random relationship that no one cares about in the penultimate episode.
That no one asked for.
No one asked for, no one cares about. I was like, I don't care about this. I can't believe we're spending the penultimate episode. Like, will Lex and Nixley break up or will they make it? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care.
Was this one? I believe this is the one where Nixley does take a stand. One of the things I did like about Lex and Nixley in this episode, The Last Gauntlet, was the fact that they're able to access the love totem because Nixley basically stands up for Esme and doesn't want Lex to harm her. So her love and protection for Esme gives her access to the love totem. I thought that was actually a really nice way to do that because it did give some insight into Nixley and it did give a surprise twist to it. I didn't see that coming, so I thought that was actually pretty well done, and it seemed like Lex was sort of tricking her into doing it too. He was like faking like he was going to hurt Esme to get her to have that sort of almost maternal instinct kick in to protect Esme. So I thought that was nice.
Yeah, I like that too. And I've liked throughout the season that Nixley is kind of a complicated villain, that she can have moments of like genuine connection to people and understanding while still being like, my evil plan. And piling on more and more eyeshadow until like the eyeshadow has basically taken over her face. And that's how you know she's evil, because the eyeshadow is very dark, like her soul. But I like that she's complicated, that she's not just one thing or the other thing. And I've appreciated that about the Nixley storyline this season.
The one thing that I thought was strange about the Esme of it all is that they made a big deal about her powers being like her mimic powers. I guess help me think through this, Morgan. So would they give her mimic powers just to make her the love totem? Like that never came into play in like any of the battles that she mimicked Nixley's fifth dimensional. Well, I guess she wouldn't even have to. Am I hallucinating this, or did they say that she had like partial fifth dimensional energy? Like, is she part imp? I feel like they mentioned
Esme?
that. Yeah, I feel like somebody in the chat
I think
correct me
she
on
just
this.
mimicked it, right? Because she's a mimic.
I swear I thought they
I'm
like
the
had
wrong
a blood
person.
test that somebody in the chat confirmed that.
Oh, she had fifth dimensional energy because of the love totem that had tattooed its way onto her heart and the back of her neck.
Leslie says there was fifth dimensional energy in her blood.
But I thought that was because of the totem.
Because of the love totem? Okay.
That's when they figured out, like, oh no, she's the love totem. But by then it was too late for her and poor William.
Yeah, Kanisha also echoes that it was probably because of the totem. Yeah,
because
I guess
they were trying to like put off the blood test or something like that. Like it was all part of Lex's like nefarious plan for Alex to not check her email.
I don't know. I just thought it was strange that Esme's power to mimic other people's powers didn't. She could have supercharged. She could have been supercharged. She could have had Supergirl's powers. She could have had Dreamer's powers. Can you imagine what Esme could do with Dreamer's powers? She would
Anything.
She would have saved the day.
She could have done literally anything.
So I thought it was strange that never seemed to come into play. I did like the moment where Esme took I think it was the Allstone, and she, said something like, "Don't hurt my family," and like smashed it on the ground. I thought that was actually young Mila, I thought did a really good job of that, because it was one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing, Esme? What are you doing? But I thought that was a good moment for her.
I love little Esme. She's got some gumption. I think one of like the most affecting lines in the episode was when she was like, "Nothing good ever happens to me," and I was like, "Oh, Esme." And even Nixley was like, "Ooh, I'm a bad person." Ooh, that felt weird. That felt funny in my heart. Like when you know that like the villain is like, "Oof, I'm bad." Like you've got a cute little girl who's really guilting somebody.
Yeah, and I like the little touch of them Lex and Nixley gave her like crayons and paper. Here, have something to draw. Please draw. Feel free to draw anything you want to draw while we keep you in our secret evil lair.
And Esme was like, "I'm gonna draw you guys a guilt trip." She's like, "Here are my moms I'll never see again." Nixley was like crying, like, "Stop." I was like, "That's right, Esme. Put it on thick."
Oh man, yeah, Esme was really good. Especially these last 2 episodes. Morgan, were there any other things that you wanted to talk about with the Last Gauntlet before we move on?
So I see in your notes there was a note about the Andrea and Lena conversation.
Yes, did you want to mention that?
Sure, let's. I liked the conversation. I will say one of the things that made me laugh is like when Andrea like parachutes in her Akrata outfit, her full scale superhero costume with her little mask, and I was like, why? Okay, like why even have her have powers? Like if you can explain to me why this character needed powers for any part of the story to unfold, like almost ever.
She needed it to get Lex's secret poetry.
One could argue she could have just broken in like a normal human woman for that. Like she didn't need
Lex's mansion though probably had a lot of security though. She would not have been able to pass it.
I remember Lex's mansion from Smallville, and there was never any security in there. Poor Lex from Smallville had so many head injuries. He spent most of that series unconscious.
Yes,
so I guess I just immediately expect that all of the mansions are going to be as well guarded as that one. But yeah, it was like just like another kind of moment where I liked the scene between the two of them. I thought it was really well done. I thought Katie and Julie Gonzalo did a great job in that scene, like acting against each other. And it made me a little sad because they haven't done anything with Andrea, really. They did last season. She was kind of a villain, and then Crisis made things really confusing about whether or not she was a villain. And then they thought, oh, it makes my head hurt, this Andrea Rojas. Let's just have her be a bad boss. And then she was just kind of an annoying boss for an entire season, but an annoying boss who had superpowers that she never used except for when she wanted to spy on people's journals. And it was like the most useless use of a character. Like, I felt bad. Like, I was like, Juliet Gonzalo, like, what a thankless role.
She's actually a really good actress.
She's a good actress, and good for her that she got to collect a paycheck for an entire year of doing almost nothing. It's like kind of a dream if you're as sleepy as I am. Like, so many naps. But and they didn't do really anything. And that was probably, that scene with her and Lena was probably the capstone scene for her character, to be honest, because she really doesn't show up again. Almost
just
at
William's funeral, I think, is the
William's
only...
funeral. She's like, oops. She shows up, but you know who I didn't see there?
Mary, his
girlfriend, who totally exists. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. She couldn't make it because Canada is so far. But yeah, I felt kind of robbed on her behalf. Like, this character, they never knew what they were doing with that character, and one could argue William as well. Until they decided at some point this season to redshirt him and set him up for death.
But Kara loved him.
Sure,
he was someone she loved.
I was like, Kara, I feel like we're overstating how much affection we all had for William. Like, a little bit.
I think she should have said someone I cared for.
Yes,
I would have bought that a little more.
It's my greatest fear. William died, and I was like, that's your greatest fear? Well, come on, Kara. I know
they cared so much that they just threw a sheet over his dead body in the tower.
I couldn't stop laughing about that either because I'm a bad person. I was like, but also it made me have like a lot of logistical questions. Like, they clearly didn't call in any kind of law enforcement at all to the scene of this crime. They just threw a sheet over poor dead William. And then what do you think that they did? Did they just like take his body to a funeral home and kind of toss it into a casket? Like, does he have a death certificate? Or I'm surprised they didn't just bury him out back of the tower. Like,
do they have like a crematorium in the tower? They just like stick to, that's really morbid. I'm sorry. But I doubt they did like fingerprints and footprints and like gathering evidence for the authorities. I guess that doesn't really matter because Lex didn't end up, like he goes to a prison anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But still,
but it made me ask like logistical questions, seeing the body with a tarp over it in the corner as they were having like conversations about what they were gonna do about Lex, as they were like all having like what's the plan? Should we kill the son or should we just give him all the totems? And meanwhile, in the background, it's just a tarp. A poor dead William behind him. Like, you want to handle that, you guys?
Yeah, maybe do something
first.
Like, I guess they had to have that reminder. I guess.
How did they explain that William was dead? Like, does he have a death certificate? Like, at some point, somebody has to come and like process him down to the funeral. It made me ask too many questions I probably shouldn't have been asking. I was like, so nobody's gonna take care of that over there, dead dude.
The public obviously knows about it because Andrea at the end, and we're sort of skipping ahead, but she sets up something in William's honor. Yeah. I think it's in Spanish though. I don't know why that's the case.
That made me laugh too because I was like, wait, it feels like, Andrea, I hate to say it, is this still about you?
Yeah, I feel like it was.
It should have been like the William Journalism School of, sorry, got you killed.
but the public knows that William is dead. So how do they explain?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Again, it was like highlighting. They could have picked it up like, I don't know, maybe not had the tarp over the body in the corner as
it
they
was
were having
a little morbid.
It was a little dark for this show. It's like, yeah, okay, but like this is really dark, and then we're gonna switch to like a child with a Beauty and the Beast tattoo that's disintegrating. I'm supposed to take both of these things completely
Equally
as seriously. And I cannot. I also loved that like Lex literally was like, she's Beauty and the Beasting.
Yes, and they mentioned
Tale as old
Cinderella
as
too.
time.
We got a Beauty and the Beast and a Cinderella mention in the same episode. So fairy tales on the brain. People in the chat are reminding us that Laura says Andrea set up a school of journalism in a South American country, which I guess makes sense.
Okay.
Let's see. Electric WWF says, I think it was the William Day School of Journalism, but not like, in his. Didn't he mention he was like from India?
Yeah, I believe so.
Why
And
wouldn't
his
she go to
grandmother-
like his hometown or something?
Andrea was like, listen, I can accept that maybe some of this was my fault, but I need to make it about myself still. It's really important for me that I do that. Lena was like, listen, as somebody who's also, flirted with the dark side, kind of mind controlled the world, girl, I get you. But you need to calm down. You need to take it down a notch. I did like that scene where Lena was like, I maybe have some things in common with you, and I have also flirted with the dark side, and like you can come back from that, and sure, you kind of accidentally led to William's death, and that's bad, but like, have you ever put on a leather coat and jumped on a plane to kill somebody? I've come back from that, and you can come back from this. And I was like, you know what? I like that. That Lena was like, listen, we've all done some questionable things. We've all science murdered a guy. Okay, we're all friends here. You can come back from anything. I liked that scene between the two of them. I wish that they had done more with Andrea Rojas, I think, as a character.
Let me just pitch something. It doesn't matter anymore because the show's over. But here's what I would maybe have done with Andrea over the course of the season is she could have been there with Lena during her whole witch discovery as like her friend, like, because she had the medallion. Maybe the medallion, the Akrata thing, could have played into the magic storyline.
The medallion was her mother's.
Yes.
But they never really bring that back around in any way, if you think about it. So it's just a thing that happened. It's like, because of my mom's witch powers, now you're a smoke monster. That's cool.
I mean, Lena could have maybe used one of her oldest friends to go with her and help her on that journey, but that's maybe just what I would have done. But
that might have been a plot for poor Andrea Rojas. And really what she wanted to do is like sit behind the Catco desk and yell about ratings. That's the fascinating part of that character journey that we wanted to go.
Well, see, Morgan, that really sets the stage for why she does what she does with the journal. So you have to see that play out over the course of the season until right at the very end. That's how you get there.
I feel so bad for like I feel like I've never seen a show that like made a character into like a superhero villain, right? And then just completely ignored them before. Every time that she would do an Akrata thing, I'd go, "Oh my god, I forgot she was Akrata." And so did the show until just that moment.
We never really fully got to explore the Akrata part of Andrea, which I think is unfortunate.
Poor Andrea. And then she does have that moment at the end of the finale. I'm going to jump ahead just for a second, but where she's, unveiling the William Day School of Journalism. Sorry, I published those poems and got you killed. Heart, Andrea Rojas. But that's it. Like there's really not a capstone on her character. Like there's that conversation she has with Lena, and then she shows up at a fight, but she doesn't really do anything. And her and Lena are just kind of standing over in the corner. And then the next time we see her, it's like the journalism school. But we don't. What was her character journey?
And she sells Catco. So like,
and she sells Catco, but off screen.
Yeah,
mind you, where all the best things happen on this show. We didn't get to see her go like, you know what, chasing the story and chasing the ratings has turned me into kind of a bad person. And R.I.P. William, he made the best cinnamon rolls. so I'm going to I'm going to sell Catco, and I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to do something else. Also, I don't think anyone should go to the Andrea Rojas School of Journalism.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Like, I know
Also-
it's William Day, but she's running it. I don't.
So if the public does know about what happened to William Day, do they know about Andrea's part in it? And if so,
Definitely not.
would anybody go to the school based on Andrea's connection to his death?
Right, you don't want to get too deeply into that. I don't think you want to peek behind that curtain, because I think we're gonna have some journalism stuff to talk about in the next episode as well. But I think, yeah, that the weird, like, non-ending for her character. She got, like, basically the one scene with Lena was her character's, conclusion to her arc, and it was just kind of like Lena being like, forgive yourself and be a super friend, and she was like, okay. And then she sold Catco off screen, and
It's
then
not important.
started like a journalism nonprofit, and that's fun. But like, I don't know, there was just, I wanted more for that character overall, and by the finale there's nothing you can do, right? The die's been cast, so you can't
You
be
only
like,
have so much time.
here's a great Andrea Rojas story in the finale. Like, that's people are,
I would have been so mad.
I would have been
Actually,
so mad. I would have been like, are you serious? But yeah, just spending an entire season, there was really, that character barely needed to exist this season. And it's just kind of sad that they kept her around to do so little with her. So I mean, I just wish that there was more, but that scene with her and Lena was nice, and I'm glad that she at least got that scene.
yeah. We do have a question from the chat. Pachua asks, "Did Andrea know that Kara was Supergirl? Because in the funeral scene, it seemed that way when they were talking about the DEO. Yeah, they were all in their civilian clothes, talking about the DEO. So, I don't think she knew that Kara was Supergirl.
I don't think so. I have never been led to believe that.
Maybe she found out that Kara was Supergirl off screen, like Kelly did.
Yeah, I'm sure it was super emotional. It was a great scene, and they cut it, but maybe it aired in Canada. So Canada,
yeah, Canadians report back. Did you see that
Canadian
scene?
Supergirl is just off the chain, I swear.
It's like the greatest TV show.
So good.
Okay, so final thoughts on The Last Gauntlet. Morgan, what did you think about this first episode of the 2-hour series finale?
Ooh, it was tough. It was a rough one for me. It was not how I wanted to start the series finale. I think it was kind of a weak episode, honestly, overall. And like those 2 episodes back to back, Kara is a much better episode and a better series finale than The Last Gauntlet. I kind of wish that they hadn't been pushed together as like I wish there had been like a retrospective and then the series finale, if that's what they were going to do. If they weren't going to, I don't know. It's the start of the big battle and everything, but I didn't like it very much. I thought it was kind of a weird episode. People were making plans that they were then deciding not to do, like one scene later that everybody had already just told them it was a bad idea. Everybody was kind of acting in ways that like didn't make a lot of sense or were just straight up bad ideas, and you were like, oh guys, really, do we have to here in this penultimate episode? So yeah, it wasn't, I was like, please let the finale be better than this episode.
Yeah, I thought it was a better offering than what we had gotten in some of the other season 6 episodes.
Praise.
So I thought most of the scenes, or at least the action scenes, were pretty exciting, and there were some good character moments. I really liked that scene with Esme and Nixley, where Nixley tells the story about her father almost slitting her throat. I thought that was an appropriate thing for a villain brutal. To do. Esme was like, I don't like that story.
That was my favorite. It was like, this is not appropriate for me.
So I thought there were some good scenes, individual scenes. I didn't care for the Supergirl Alex stuff. I didn't like that Supergirl, failed yet again. I wasn't thrilled with a lot of that, but there were some good moments that I really liked in this the Last Gauntlet, the official technical penultimate episode of the Supergirl TV series. So as a season 6 episode, pretty good.
Once again, faint praise.
So I guess we'll go ahead and move on to the official series finale and the final episode of the CW Supergirl TV series, which was titled Kara. And here is the official description. Quote, in the epic series finale, Supergirl is joined by familiar faces from the past to help her stop Lex and Nixley for good. Do they help? Never mind.
They don't, but
okay. Meanwhile, Alex and Kelly prepare to walk down the aisle. Makad Brooks, Jeremy Jordan, and Chris Wood returned for the series finale, unquote. So, this, in the previous episode, The Last Gauntlet, we saw the return of one of our faves, Lily and Luthor. But in this episode, the series finale, we had a big death. Lots of death happening here lately. And
lots of death. Yeah.
Unfortunately, this one took Lily and Luthor from us. So, Morgan, what did you think about Lillian's final scene with Lena?
Okay. Okay. So, I think was it in this episode or was it in the previous episode where she jumps in front of Lex to protect him?
I think it was in the Last Gauntlet. I think it was during that river bridge fight. I think
during the bridge. Our favorite place.
You know that one. You know that bridge from season 1.
We all know
We all know that. We all know that.
Very familiar with the bridge. I was like, okay, so Lillian got hit. That's not good, but she's Lillian. She'll be fine. And Lillian's like, Lena, clearly I'm dying. And I was like, don't you dare. Don't you do this. Don't you do this to me, Supergirl. But I think my bigger moment of anger in this episode, probably my biggest moment of anger in the whole thing, was when I realized that she had died off screen.
She did. Oh!
And I turned to Mike and I went, did they just kill? Did she just say that Lillian's dead? Did they just kill Lillian off screen? And Mike was like, I'm sorry, I'm afraid that is what happened. And I was like, flames
flames on the side of my face.
That's how I felt. I was like, come on, this is one of the best villains the show has ever had. You put some respect on her death. You give her a long death scene where she dies but then gets back up and says another soliloquy and then dies again and then gets back up. And
I wanted her to do that thing that was like, Lena, I need you to come close. I need you to come closer. And then she does it again. She's like, Lena, come close. I hated your horses. Something like that. I really wanted her to do that kind of tricky thing.
Just as she was about to die, she goes you're still my least favorite child. Or something. I was furious. There was years ago when I went to Disney World, they had a Beauty and the Beast stage show and they killed the Beast way upstage, but clearly he had to get downstage for his transformation into the human. So he staggered around the dying for 10 minutes so that he could get to his mark. And that's what I wanted for Lillian. That's what I wanted for her. I wanted her to get up dramatically and then die and then get back up and then stagger around, knocking some beakers off and be like, you don't need this anymore, Lena. You're magic now. And I wanted so much more for her. I thought I could not believe the disrespect of how they killed her off. We didn't even get to see her death scene. She just has a scene with Lena where she's like, oh, hey, you know how you thought you were science? My bad. I sensed the magic in you and I dampened it with crystals or whatever. And I put a quartz on your bedside and I stopped it. What
talismans?
Yeah, the talismans. That's totally a thing I do and I knew about, and not something we just came up with a half an hour ago because we were hungry and we wanted to break for lunch. And she's like, you're magic all along, Lena. You're magic all along. But we don't even get to see her die. And then Lena comes out and she goes Well, you know what? I feel like I finally resolved some core issues and like, oh, my mom's dead. That's a bummer. But I feel better about myself and like the melding of science and magic because it turns out, Cara, look at me. It turns out I was magic all along. It's like, what does that mean? It felt disrespectful to not just to Lillian Luthor, but also to Lena Luthor, who has up until
Her whole
this point
thing was that she was a scientist
been a
for all of
scientist.
these years.
And now it's like, no, it turns out the science was just hiding her light under a bushel, right? It was hiding her magic. She was, I pushed you into the STEM field, Lena, because I wanted you to get as far away from magic as possible. It's like, what? How are those two things related?
Well, and she didn't want Lena to become magical because she didn't want to have her repeat what her mother did, which I guess is she's referring to her mother accidentally killing that dude in the fire. But Lena still killed people.
What,
Even with
joke's
the
on her. Lillian was like, I loved our house, darling, and I could not let you set it on fire. Had so many mink coats in that house. But yeah, no, it was like, but also if you follow it, it's like what they're saying, right? Is that science is the antithesis of magic. Which doesn't even make sense. She's like, Lena, I could not let you go into the humanities in school. If
You can still be a scientist and a witch.
right? If you had just opened the scarlet letter and read, you would have become a witch. I needed you to go into biology. It's like none of that makes sense. What if she had become an interior decorator? She would have turned into a witch. Like the only thing that was stopping her was science. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I thought the Lillian death. I liked the scene between Lillian and Lena where she says, you know, I want to set you free. I thought that was a nice scene between the two actresses, Brenda Strong and Katie McGrath. I thought they played that really well. There's an appropriate level of emotion there between the two of them, and I at least, even though we didn't see Lillian die on screen, we did get to see, you know, them honor that relationship that had been such a contentious and maybe sometimes loving one on the show. And so I was glad that they honored that dynamic that has been on the show for such a long time. And and in some ways, I think they did honor the character of Lily, but they could maybe have, you know, had her die a big death scene on screen.
I think she deserved a more dramatic death scene because she was a very dramatic character. She was a very larger than life character. But I do agree. I liked the scene besides like the "you were magic all along" grasshopper moment. I did like the scene in general. I thought that Brenda Strong and Katie McGraw were great as they always are in scenes together. And I like that those two characters got closure with each other, and like Lillian basically got to say like kind of I loved you as much as I was humanly capable of the feeling of love, and Lena was like cool, and she's like, sorry I messed up all of your magic and you kind of changed your life and stuff, but now it's time for you to let that go and like go on with your life. And I do like that I mean, not that Lena needed Lillian's permission to do anything in her life because Lillian is, again, a terrible, terrible mother. But I do think that it was a good moment for Lena as a character to kind of get that closure with her mother before she died off screen.
Yeah, because Lillian, I mean, she spent a lot of time this season talking about her biological mother, Elizabeth Walsh, the witch.
Yes.
But Lillian really was her mother. I mean, she maybe wasn't the greatest one, but she was
a bad one. Yeah, definitely.
She was her mother, and that's kind of a big deal for her to lose the maternal figure in her life. So, yeah, I mean, it could have maybe been done a little more, a little better, but I think for the most part, I thought that scene was handled pretty well. I guess since we're talking about Luthors, let's talk about how Lex and Nixley ended up, because we've been following Nixley all season, and we've been following Lex for the last 3 seasons. on the show. So, Morgan, what did you think about how Lex and Nixley went out?
Oh boy. I thought it was kind of stupid. And anticlimactic, honestly. When so we get like all of the people we get like Mon-El coming to rescue Kara, which cool. It's great that she needs rescuing, and in the series finale of her own show, we wouldn't want her to be able to do that herself. But okay, cool. Mon-El's back. That's great. But I like that he got to do his fun thing with his cape. He loves that.
He got to do a little cape trick. Yeah.
God bless, he loves that cape trick. He's like a child. He's like, look it, I did it. It's like, yes, you did, Mon-El. Good job, Mon-El.
So are we Mon negative for this episode?
You know what? I'm Mon neutral, I think. I might have even been skewing towards Mon positive. He had the beard.
He did have the beard.
Always a plus, helps with the Mon feelings. And then he did his little cape trick, which was great. I like that. He was like, look at Kara, look. And she was like, you're still doing it great. And then at the end, he was like, I will never see you again. Good day. And I was like, okay, weird flex. You're not leaving me. I'm leaving you forever. It's like, you're a time traveler. You can come back when, okay, bye, I guess. She's, hey, Mon-El, are you going to come to Alex and Kelly's wedding? Do you have some time? Never in this lifetime. Goodbye. I just, the over dramatics of that statement.
Completely unnecessary.
So unnecessary. She's like, I didn't even ask. He was like, listen, not only am I not coming to your sister's wedding, I will literally never see you again. But it was great. And she was like, okay, goodbye. It's like, what an uncomfortable moment with your ex-boyfriend where you're just like, I'm just trying to be normal, dude. I'm just trying to be normal. And you're taking this to a 20 and I'm at a 9 here. Like, I don't know why it has to be like this.
Yeah, and speaking of honoring character relationships,
I will never see you again in this life. Goodbye.
I don't know that was a great way to honor the Kara Mon-El thing. I mean, they did hug, so I guess that was nice. But he was a little bit like, I don't want to ever see you again. That's what it sounded like.
It both made me laugh, and then also Kara's reaction to it. Melissa Benoist's face was so good because it was just like, what? Like I just imagine her and Chris Wood at home, like reading the script and going, well, that seems harsh. All right. Like, they didn't need to. I mean, I guess they were like, listen, I know that there are still a lot of people invested in the Kara and Mon-El relationship who maybe think it might happen. And you know what? Boom. No, never going to happen. I was like, all right, I guess you're going to crush some dreams, cruel. But okay. Yeah. I will never see you again in this life. I was like, all right, tell me how you really feel. Jeez, I guess I'm not bumping into you in the supermarket, huh? I was like, okay, I guess you're not coming to the wedding then. I'll put you down as a no. Oh my God, that was so funny. Yeah, I mean, I think I will give him a Mon positive just for like, that was a real flex, I think. And I appreciate anyone who's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just tell my ex I don't need them. I don't need them anymore. And I've never needed them and I'll never see them again in this life.
It was like, a little harsh.
You know, I live to be kind of no, never in this life. Shut it down.
So Lex and Nixley though.
Yes. Sorry. I went on a Mon tangent. It's the last Mon-El sliding scale I can ever do.
Oh, yeah. Let us know in the chat. Where are you on the Mon
Where
scale?
are you on the Mon scale? Maybe people didn't appreciate his his clear boundaries, his clear breakup. He's like, listen, I don't just break up with somebody. I never see them again in their lifetime. I appreciate that. You know what? Sometimes you just need a clean break.
Define that relationship.
Yeah, he certainly did.
Oof.
Speaking of defining the relationship, the Nixley and Lex breakup in this episode was so weird, and like I don't care still. I don't care. Like, but also, what was the point of all this if they're just gonna break up? Break up? Like, I don't. Why did we have to spend episodes and episodes with Lex and Nixley, this completely out of left field romance that happened off screen in the future? So it's real. It happened in the future, and it's like they were totally great. They were totally great. You didn't see it, you couldn't see it, but believe us. Um, and then they break up at the end, and then their ending was very anticlimactic for me because when he opens the Phantom Zone, I thought, here we go. Here's going to be a great Kara story.
Yeah, because Phantoms really affected her.
Because Phantoms really affected her. Her time in the Phantom Zone was very deeply traumatic. And here could be like the cornerstone of that storyline. Like here could be the end of that storyline. And we could kind of take that through and we could kind of end that with her facing down Phantoms and persevering and winning, because every time she's had to face Phantoms before, she's kind of like they've overtaken her with
she's fearful that she's going to become one.
And she gets taken down, and like here's an opportunity for her to be hopeful and for her to like take everything that she's learned and like fight a Phantom and win. And I thought, what a cool moment that'll be for everyone's gone. It's over. It's over. Cool. And so the fact that Kara doesn't get to fight and win against a Phantom, but she doesn't even get to fight and win against the villains of the season, made me mad.
Yeah, and what made me even madder was the way it happens. Is that Lex uses basically a Phantom Zone projector. Why didn't they use that all along to send Lex and Nixley to the Phantom Zone? They could have done that. They have a Phantom Zone projector in the fortress. That happened. That would actually have brought the season full circle, because at the beginning of the season, Lex sends Supergirl to the Phantom Zone using the Phantom Zone projector. Supergirl could have turned it around on them and sent them to the Phantom Zone. I think at one point Supergirl didn't want to send Nixley back to the Phantom Zone because she and Nixley were friends and didn't want her to send her back to where all that trouble, and that trauma was in the Phantom Zone. But in the finale, she should have been like, screw it. You kidnapped my niece and you threatened to take over the world. I'm going to send you to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
If they had the ability to, I don't understand. They went through that whole thing about supercharging Supergirl and the whole thing about Alex and her plan. Why didn't they just say Phantom Zone projector? Boom.
Well, it's another issue that I have, which is like Supergirl wasn't even instrumental in defeating the villains of the season. It was just kind of a oopsie daisies that they won because of oopsie daisies. Like nobody did anything really. They were in the middle of a battle and Lex self-owned himself. Like it's just for it, maybe in like a season 5 or a season 4 when we have a couple of seasons left, like maybe that kind of finale ending, I would have been like, well, that wasn't great, but all right. But in the series finale, I want Supergirl to persevere. I want the day to be saved because of something that Supergirl did. And she does do this hope speech later, and we'll talk about that. But like against the two main villains of the season, she literally does nothing but stand there and go, oh, there they go.
She fights Overgirl a little bit, and they fight Parasite and Red Tornado and that Dream Monster and Metallo, and that was kind of fun to see those villains come back.
That was fun.
But I agree with you. I wish Supergirl had taken more of a physical, active role in that. That would have been really nice to see.
Or even if she was like, she figured out, oh my God, if I open up a portal to the Phantom Zone, the Phantoms will take Lex and Nixley because their hubris is masking their fear, right? If she had figured that out and was like, I'm going to take a big risk here, much like earlier when I decided to kill the sun, but this time I'm pretty sure I'm right. And she had been the one who decided to, again, face her fear of the Phantom Zone by potentially unleashing phantoms on herself that she's afraid of. But she can work through that fear because she knows that it's going to get Lex and Nixley. That would have been fine. I just don't like that the villains took themselves out. Like, that's so ridiculous.
I really like that idea. That would have been so much better. It would have given us a Kara story. It would have paid off the beginning and the, I guess, even a little bit in the middle of the season where she dealt with those issues. And she would have gotten a win and she would have done something heroic and figured something out for herself. Why couldn't we have had that? Mark asked the question, didn't Lex break the projector after he sent Kara there? I'm pretty sure Alex had a Phantom Zone projector when they went up against Nixley when Mixie sacrificed himself to go into the orb. Somebody correct me in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that Alex had a Phantom Zone projector. They were gonna, because I think they were gonna try to send Nixley to the Phantom Zone. Then
maybe
somebody let me know if I'm wrong about that in the chat. I'm sure somebody will correct me.
Because like wrong. maybe then Supergirl could have like gotten the Phantom Zone projector off of Lex or whatever and made the choice to. It was a very strange way to dispatch with the season's villains by basically like Supergirl doesn't really do anything to get rid of them in particular. It just happens to it's a nice accident.
Yeah,
like
it's
not
proactive.
It's not proactive. And that's been my big issue with Supergirl as a character and the writing for her this whole season is like it feels like almost nothing she does is proactive. Like she's almost never the one saving the day this season. It's like somebody else is saving her. Mon-El, oh, look at Mon-El's here. It's like, no, okay. Or like, oh, look at Dreamer's here, or Jean, or Alex, or like all the super friends are working together. It's like, well, could Supergirl do something just by herself? This is her show. No. And so like the fact that she doesn't even get the win against the season-long villains. And Lex, you could even argue is, a several season-long villain that sent her to the Phantom Zone earlier this season. It would have been great if she could have
done payback if she sent him to the Phantom Zone.
What a full circle type story that could have been. But instead,
Lex is definitely going to die in the Phantom Zone, right? Like a human in the Phantom Zone. I think
it's not good for him.
He's not going to make it.
And I was going to say for Nixley, I feel like it's a brutal ending for her story too. But at least it does feel like apropos, like she hated the Phantom Zone and back she goes. But yeah, no, it was kind of a strange.
And she deserved it. She was definitely not a character who really should be out there doing things. She should maybe be in a Phantom Zone prison. Leslie says Alex and Supergirl both used the Phantom Zone projector earlier in the season. Donna also says yes, she did have a projector. And that Patra mentions the Mixie or Nixley tried to use the projector, and Laura says yeah, it was before Mixie sacrificed himself. So chat is confirming that they did have a Phantom Zone projector, so they had the capability. I'm having to take a lot of leaps on why they took so long to defeat Nixley and Lex. They could have solved all of this by either, because I don't think they ever addressed the whole getting her to say her name backwards thing.
They never tried.
Because they established that with Mixie, right?
Yeah.
Like Mixie had to do it in order to send himself back. But for some reason that didn't apply to Nixley, which I don't understand. And then the Phantom Zone projector, they had all this time. And not once did anybody mention, hey, maybe we could just send him to the Phantom Zone. Maybe we don't leave him there forever if we feel bad about it. Maybe we just put him there, and like get rid of these, totems or hide these totems or something.
I also think it's funny that they made such a big deal of like Nixley being the worst villain they've ever faced. And then like she teams up with Lex, who is also the worst villain they ever faced. And it's like, oh my God, what will we do? And like Kara's quitting her job and like making a lot of questionable decisions because they have to fight them because they are the worst. And then at the end of the day, how do they get defeated? They make a mistake and like basically like fall into a hole that they created, like, you know, Wile E. Cody. Like, it's just
It was kind of like that.
right. It's like, oops, I forgot that I made that hole there for the Roadrunner, and up off I go. And it's like just kind of ridiculous. You've built this whole thing up, and like the way that they resolved it was so anticlimactic, but not just anticlimactic. It was like it was again. Supergirl didn't do anything. Like Supergirl wasn't active. She wasn't an active participant of taking down these two villains who've been like, you know, the thorn in her side all season. Like you can say that she, you know, gave the hope speech and that empowered people, and so they weren't scared, and so the Phantoms only had Lex and Nixley. Sure. But at the end of the day, she wasn't like doing anything. She was just kind of reacting to stuff and like just letting things happen in front of her. And that's been like kind of what they've been doing with the character all season. And I just hoped in the finale that she would have done something just herself, but no.
So speaking of which, what did you think about getting one final hope speech?
Well, I guess it was inevitable, wasn't it? I like that everybody turned black and white.
I mean, it was a creative choice for this show, so I applaud them for trying something different.
I was really confused in the one scene where is it Orlando?
Orlando, yeah.
Yeah, it's because Joey was the younger brother. So Orlando is like giving everybody this speech, and everybody's in black and white, and the bus was in red. It was like in yellow, and I was like, "What's happening? What am I watching? Like, what's going on?" Like they hadn't really explained what the black and white was at that point, and I was like, am I supposed to understand what's going on here? It was an interesting visual choice. It was a little hokey, but I'll give it to them. I also like the the news anchor that's like, I'm just so sad. It's like, lady, come on, it's a little too much now.
Maybe you shouldn't be doing the news.
She's like, I'm sorry, I'm so bummed. It's like the news is all bad. I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, I guess we needed one last Supergirl hope speech to see us out. It's how she ends every season, so we wouldn't want to change that at all. And at this point, she basically has them pre-written. This has been my theory. I continue to stick with it, that she's written so many host speeches that it's like a Mad Libs where she just leaves in
whatever the current situation is.
Citizens of National City, we find ourselves in a hopeless world. The Phantoms are back in the Phantom Zone, but we are super sad. What we need is hope. Hope is what we need. This situation that I am talking about now, that is current and has not been pre-written, she just sort of drops in the curtain. It's like I hate to say this, it's like when, you know, they pre-write the obituaries for like famous people, and then they just sort of drop in the details of like what happened, and then they like run them. It's kind of like that. She's pre-written all the hope speeches. She just drops in the season relevant details. So I could have done maybe with one without the hope speech. I got what they were going for with it, like the idea that, like, once again, we're back to power. The idea that instead of her being this all-powerful person, she is empowering others to take back the power for themselves, and to be hopeful and to empower themselves. They must have said empower like 20 times. But I mean, as a sort of an ending for the show, that idea that like she has become such a hopeful figure that people see her and are also like okay, well, if Supergirl can do it, I can do it. And I can have the power in my own life, even if I feel powerless. In theory, I liked it. In execution, I thought it was a little hokey. Um, Again, spoilers for Buffy. If it's if you're doing a drinking game on Supergirl Radio, I have to bring up Buffy like once per episode. But it's kind of how Buffy ended too. It's like, you all have the power of the Slayer. And so in that way, it was kind of like, I'm giving you all the power. And like you see a little bit later in the episode where she's going to go save the cat from the tree. And then it's like, oh no, they've built a bigger ladder. Which was my genuine laugh of the episode, because that was really funny. But it's like they all worked together and they figured out this situation. It's like, oh, well, I guess I don't need to solve like every problem. Like people are figuring it out for themselves. I did like that because I feel like they're always going to need Supergirl for the big stuff, but for like the smaller stuff, like maybe she can take a step back and we'll talk about the idea of her life being these two separate people and like bringing those two people together, and like the idea that like maybe going forward she could have a little bit of a less stressful, still gonna be stressful, but not feeling like she has to solve the world's problems, because they're gonna make that bigger ladder for that cat first before they call in Supergirl. And so
also cats land on their feet.
The cat's gonna be
I think
just
it's the cat
fine.
fell out of the
Cat's
tree. I
just
think it's gonna be fine.
The cat's gonna be fine. Yeah, but they've got 9 lives. They're gonna be all right. But I liked it in theory, but in practice, again, like we get so many hope speeches, just so many of them.
I understand why they felt they needed to do that, because Supergirl hope speeches are a thing, but it's like she did that at the end of season 1. She did that at the end of season 5. It's too much. But by now, I'm like, it doesn't feel authentic anymore. It just feels like you're tacking it on because that's Supergirl's thing, and it doesn't inspire me, because I'm like, I've heard her say this stuff all the time. And also I'm a little bit confused and conflicted by the message, because she's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Morgan, she's saying you need to be empowered, but and that people don't need her necessarily to feel empowered, but she's telling them to be empowered. So aren't they still needing her to be empowered? Because what does that say about humanity? That like we aren't going to empower ourselves, or we aren't going to feel empowered unless Supergirl tells us to be empowered?
Well, it's funny because Mon-El is like, your speech just made the history books, and it's like, thanks for the pat on the back, buddy. But it's also like, people hadn't considered being hopeful before. But then when
we've never had the idea.
But then when you spoke so eloquently in your Mad Lib speech about hope, people were like, what if we empowered ourselves? And it changed everything. And I was like, again, Mon-El, love the hype, because you're about to bring her down real low. I think I like Mon-El as like the perfect like ex who's like just trying to like live their best life like at you aggressively. And so he's like, you did a great job, it changed the future, but I will never see you again, not in this lifetime. And then he runs away. But also it's kind of like a perfect neg, because she's given this speech several times before, and this is the only time it's changed the future. This time, I know the other 2 or 3 speeches were a trial run, but this time you finally got it right. Bye.
I just, I know we've been talking about this a lot, about how Supergirl really didn't do anything, and she's saving the day by using her words. And I should bring comics into it, because this has nothing. Well, it has something to do with Supergirl as a character in general. But like, I think about Crisis on Infinite Earths in the comics. Nobody remembers her from Crisis because she like gave a hope speech. They remember her because she sacrificed herself to save Superman. And it was this big moment, and she's eulogized by Batgirl because she did a heroic thing, and that did change her death along with Barry Allen in Crisis. That did change moving forward. There's a whole time period of comics called post-crisis because of one of the things that Supergirl did. She was an active character in the comics. That's one of her biggest well-known stories, is because she did something. And when Mon-El came back and he was like, your speech really changed everything. Like, everybody, it made the history books. And I was like, really? The speech made the history books? Like, something she didn't do it, like, didn't save the day. Like, I don't know. I mean, I understand what they're doing, and they're like telling people like, hey, you can be a hero too. But I mean, I know I bring this up all the time, but I think Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice did this whole idea so much better, because it's like the people of Metropolis in that film like inspire each other to be Superman. If you seek his monument, look around you, that whole thing. That's done so much better. Here, they like told you to be empowered. You need to be empowered because Supergirl tells you to be empowered. And I didn't buy that at all. To me, it made me think that they think so little of humanity, that like we're these little ants, that the superheroes need to tell us how to inspire each other and inspire ourselves. And I didn't like the message that sent.
I also think the writing didn't really support it, because there is, I think, a way that you could have built the season to something like this. But I think the way to do that is to show that Supergirl is integral to the lives of like humanity and the people of National City, and that they've come to rely on her too much, and that they expect Supergirl to come in and swoop in and save them. And so this idea that she is saying, no, you can be the superhero in your own story, and then they kind of take the power back and go, okay, well, we need to make that bigger ladder for that cat, or whatever it is. But instead, it feels like they told the opposite story this season, that like Supergirl, she disappeared for months on end, and nobody even talked about that. Nobody
seemed to miss her. Yeah.
Nobody even noticed.
You know why? Because Magan was out patrolling. Somebody was still protecting the streets.
You know what, Rebecca? She still is. She never came back from that patrol. Magan like went out for a pack of cigarettes and never came back. But so brutal what they did to that poor character. But like, there's a way that they could have built it up in different ways, where it's like Supergirl, people are relying too much on Supergirl, or Supergirl is doing this and that and this and that. And like, the way to do that is to have Supergirl doing things a lot on her own, so that the change is that the twist is that, oh, it's time for people to start taking their own power and contributing their own. But all we've seen all season is Supergirl losing a lot of stuff, like just taking L's constantly. And the Super Friends, like, there barely seemed to be a blip when Supergirl was just gone for months in the Phantom Zone. And so how am I supposed to believe that like people need Supergirl to tell them to empower themselves? They seem like they were doing just fine without her.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they could have played it a little bit better if Supergirl actually did something to inspire them. If she actually like took an action to do something, or if she was among the crowd of people like helping them while they were, dealing with Lex and Nixley, and they all kind of picked up what Supergirl was doing, and it became like a domino effect where everybody was inspired by someone else. I don't know. I think they could have played that a little better. So I was a little disappointed with another Hope speech. I was really hoping for Supergirl to do something really like Supergirl, talk about power. Supergirl is one of the most powerful characters in the DC universe, and she's definitely the most powerful character on the show. And I really wanted her to like show off a little bit, and she kind of just didn't. So that was a little bit of a disappointment for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if Supergirl had gotten in there and been active in taking down Lex and Nixley, and then given that speech about how everybody needed to empower themselves and gotten everybody's hope back and turned everybody from Pleasantville into color or whatever. I think that would have at least worked a little bit better for me, because then she's doing something active and she's also getting people to like, fight for themselves. But as it just stands, she doesn't really take down the villain of the season. She gives a speech And her speech is basically like, you guys have to kind of do this for yourselves.
Yeah, you guys do it. I don't have to do it all the
You
time.
guys, I'm so tired. Why can't you guys do your own saving? It's so hard for me, Supergirl. And so it's like, in that way, she's not even active in her own. So it wasn't my favorite. I think that there's ways that they could have done. I saw what they were going for, and I like it in theory. Like, I like it in theory that people are more empowered and that Supergirl doesn't have to save the day all the time. I really did like, I'm making fun of the cat in the tree, but I thought it was a cute example of like people pulling together and figuring things out and not, calling Supergirl. She didn't need, she actually wasn't needed for that one. She could sit back down and do a flower arrangement. Like, she could kind of live her life. But I wish that like either they went to the Hope speech less often so that this one was.
Oh yeah. If they hadn't done it multiple other times in the show, I think this would have had more impact.
I feel like if they hadn't done it just last season, like that's the problem. Like, so I could see there being
in the finale of last season.
If they had like the season 1 and season 6 like bookended Hope speeches, actually
That
I
would've been
like
great,
that, right?
yeah.
Like, I like that. But they had to do it again. Like, the last 4 seasons of Supergirl is like a constant. The last 3 seasons of Supergirl is a constant feeling of deja vu. It's like you're watching the same season over and over again, only it's getting worse. It's like a picture of Dorian Gray situation, but we're not looking at Dorian Gray. We're looking at the picture.
It's like multiplicity where they just like keep cloning Michael Keaton. It's Michael Keaton, right? And like by the time you get to the end one, he's so dumb. Yeah, it's basically season 4, season 5, season 6. Lex comes in. He's the big bad of the season. Supergirl gives some sort of hope speech, and everything's fine. And that's the season. That's how they end them. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a great way to put that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I feel like let's be honest, nothing was gonna save this season as it stood, except like a lot of rewriting. But for the finale, at least, like if they hadn't done the Hope speech just last season, and it had just been like they did it in season 1, they did it in season 6, I would have been like, cool. I like the symmetry, the roundaboutness of that.
You would have had a whole 5 years where you didn't have to
gosh.
deal with that.
Where there wasn't she's given quite a few Hope speeches in the interim,
a lot of times on television.
Usually TV is her preferred medium. But she'll just direct it right into your brain. You don't have to watch the TV. She's there. There's no escaping her Hope speech. What do you think? How sick of her Hope speeches do you think the people of National City and the whole world in general are? Do you think that they're just like, God, not another one of these?
Well, they seem to really take to this one. This
They
is
seem to
the
like
one
them,
this is the one that's stuck. I don't know. I would probably be like, oh, Supergirl's giving another Hope speech. I know where this is going.
Not this again. We get it. We hope. I mean, maybe we would have hoped more if you didn't throw that totem into the sun. Well, the other thing is, and again, I had like a little bit of a meltdown because suddenly the totems are once again, first off, they were going to affect everyone. First, they affected just like a mile radius, a block radius of the cafeteria of the museum or whatever. All right. But then it was like, now they're tied to the whole world. Okay, I don't understand how that happened, but sure. But then she throws the Hope totem into the sun and nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. No one loses hope. Everyone's just chill. So, okay, I guess.
And somehow Lex Luthor has it.
Yeah, okay, I guess they're not connected to everyone's feelings. But then Lex Luthor has it, so maybe they are connected to everyone's feelings. And then in this episode, again, they're connected to everyone's feelings. Like, as they use the totems, everyone starts getting real sad. And
well, I guess that was because of the Allstone, though. Like, maybe the Allstone being created had much, like, more power or more effect on everything.
The storyline this season is so nonsensical that like the two of us constantly talking about it cannot quite nail it down. I'm not saying we're the smartest people on earth, but we do watch and talk about the show kind of a lot. And like I'll be honest, I still don't know. I don't know what was going on with the totems or the allstones or that little bath bomb that turned out the love totem or like whatever it was. Like okay. I was like, again, I was like, okay, so now we're back. It's just affecting everyone again. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was just glad I had one last question about the totems just to see us out.
Yeah. The question is why? So I guess we'll just have to assume that the Allstone being created had much more an effect on everybody, and I guess that answers it. I guess we'll just go with that. I guess since we're running a little long, we'll kind of
We knew that was gonna happen.
we knew that was going to happen. That's why our feedback is going to be a little shorter this week, hopefully, because we can't go 3 hours. I will not allow us to do it. So hopefully it will not happen. So let's get kind of let's fast forward to the end. So Alex and Kelly's wedding, and I guess we could talk about Alex and Kelly's wedding, and
Yeah.
then if you want to do a Lena Luthor boardroom or ballroom, and we could do it about Lena and then about everyone's attire.
Yeah,
if you would like
there's a lot of good attire. There was a lot of strange choices at that wedding.
So I'll let you choose. What do you want to start with? Do you want to start talking about the wedding, or do you want to start talking about the clothing?
Let's start talking about the clothing. There's so much to say.
All right, let's get into a little boardroom or ball.
And now, Lena Luthor, boardroom or ballroom. So, everyone looked amazing at the wedding. They looked amazing, but in their own ways. Let's be honest, in their own ways. Now, look at this picture, and ask yourself, one of these things is not like the other. I saw an interview with Katie McGraw where she was like, "I'm at a completely different wedding than everyone else." And if it's not the truest statement I've ever heard in my life, I don't know what is. So Nia Dreamer, she has like a beautiful blue Dreamer-esque dress on with some like frills. She's looking great, beautiful. Brainy is back. Turns out that future thing was no big thing, no big
deal. The balloons are probably just gonna die out. No big deal.
Don't worry about it. You know what? I don't even know why I brought it up. I don't even know why I made a big deal.
Space-time continuum, space-time continuum. Who cares?
It's super chill. Over Brainy's shoulder is Al the bar owner, the real MVP of the finale.
I'm really glad he got an invite.
I'm glad he got an invite. Alex negged his bar pretty hard in one of the previous episodes, so I'm glad she made it up to him. He was probably like, "Oh, I can cater," and she would probably be like, "Can you?" So Al looks great. Jimmy looks great. He's grown some facial hair. It's working for him. He got a little pandemic mustache going.
I like his suit. He looks really
he looks really sharp. He's holding the bouquet. He looks great. The bouquet actually looks great with the colors of the suit. And so now let's go to Lena. Lena, I think Katie McGraw said that Lena looked like a Colombian drug lord. And I can't stop seeing it. She looks like the rich wife of a mafia don. She looks like she came out of like a Real Housewife situation and then rolled into a Hot Topic. She looks like the fanciest goth at the ball, and I don't understand. I don't understand what wedding she thinks that she's at. Everybody else is at a beautiful summer wedding. She's at a vampire ball. Her hair is slicked back for some reason. She's got like the darkest lipstick and eyeliner on I've ever seen. She's that outfit is it's giving me everything that I've ever wanted. Once again, Lena Luthor has showed up completely dressed for a different occasion than everyone else, one last time to give me joy one final time. And I love it so much. And I hope she never changes. I hope that she wears this outfit to like children's birthday parties and like bat mitzvahs, and like she looks like a beautiful goth vampire queen, and and that's the energy that I'm glad that she brought to this wedding.
Yeah, she's got some Luthor purple on, so I did appreciate that. Which I thought was a little bit strange because the whole thing about her in this episode was that she was trying to get away from the well, I guess not completely away from the Luthor name, because she does set up the Lena Luthor Foundation. So she does retain the Luthor name. So I guess the purple is still somewhat appropriate. But yeah, so she is wearing a seemingly inappropriate outfit for the wedding.
It's an amazing outfit because, again, she's at a completely different wedding from the rest. They're all at Alex and Kelly's wedding, and she's at the wedding of like Count Elvira and Lord Byron or something. Like she's at a completely different wedding. I read a little bit of that, and I need to go back and read all the interviews with Katie because she's absolutely a gem. But she said like, oh, that there was so much double-sided tape involved in her outfit, which makes sense because that out the top comes like the slit comes all the way down.
There is a big slit in that.
Yes, there is some danger involved in that outfit as well. And I like that she's embraced that. Lena was like, you know what? I'm just gonna tape myself into it, and like, you know, if a breeze comes along, whatever happens, happens.
Okay, so let's talk about some other people. I guess we could talk about the people that everybody came to see, Kelly and Alex and little Esme. What did you think about? Because Morgan, you know a little something about wedding dresses and, you know, planning a wedding. So what did you think about this?
Esme looks adorable.
She does.
So cute. I love the pink. It's so perfect. Jean looks really good, really sharp in his gray suit. I love yeah, look at that. Like that blue tie, that gray suit, like little polka dots on the tie. Jean is really serving us some looks.
He looks great.
He's like, I look great, and I can't wait to one day find Magan again.
Yeah, he and Magan are gonna have a son
if he ever finds her.
If he ever gets her out of that painting, they're gonna have a family.
Once he saves her from that painting on Esme's wall, it's gonna be, and she sees him in that tie.
Jean even looked confused about the mention of Magan because he was like, "Oh yeah, Magan, I forgot about her."
I wanted him to be like, he went to whisper really quietly, "Who?" That would have been amazing. Or if he just like turned away and he was like, she left so long ago. She said she'd be right back. I really like Kelly's veil. I thought it was really pretty. It's got like little pearls in it. That's really cute. I've actually never seen that before. Thought that was really adorable. I like Kelly's dress overall. I think it's really flattering on her. It was like really pretty. I like the way that the top is fitted, but the skirt flares out, and the little hairpiece in her hair matches the inexplicable hairpiece in Alex's hair. So then we get to Alex, and there's okay. I like her suit. Let's start with the positives. Her suit is great. It's very well fitted. She looks great. What's happening with her hair, I think, is my big question. What is that hairpiece? Why is it like that?
Do you think that they had to do the hair the way it was because of the hairpiece?
I don't.
Or do you think it was like the other way around?
I've seen Alex's hair look so much better, and in this wedding it is shellacked. It does not look like a breeze could move that hair. If it was a hurricane, if it was a twister and a cow came by, her hair would still be in place. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. Like the suit is really great. Like it fits her really well, and the boutonniere is so pretty on it. And then whatever is happening to her hair is just kind of happening there. And I guess I could kind of get on board with the hair. I could be like, okay, the hair is what it is. It's really the crystal tiara thing that leaves me with more questions than answers. I
Yeah.
don't Why is it only halfway around her head? Why is it like that? Why does she have it on at all? It doesn't seem like it goes with her outfit or her vibe in any way.
Yeah, I've seen Alex's hair look a little better, but you know, she made a choice. She was trying something new, I
she
guess.
was like, you know what? It's a wedding day. I'm not going to wear it like this again. I'm going to go for something like a little weird. I talked to Lena and she told me it was great. I talked to my most stylish friend, and though she was dressed like a Victorian vampire at the time, I thought that her advice was rock solid. I maybe it's supposed to mirror like the little piece that's in Kelly's hair, but like the piece that's in Kelly's hair, like it makes sense to me. It's not just like around half of her head. I don't Yeah, the tiara wasn't my favorite, but I think overall everybody looked great. Like Alex looked great. I just didn't like the hairpiece. Oh, and Eliza looked great too. I was so happy that she was in this finale.
I'm glad she got to go to the wedding. That was a good
And she
thing.
had one of the best lines in the whole two-part finale, which was the winky winky, like, you would think I was a Kryptonian. Well, maybe in the movies.
Yeah, but let's think through that line.
Let's not.
On the surface though, like it sounds cool because you're it's a little inside reference into Helen Slater being Supergirl at one point in the 80s. But if you actually look at that dialogue, does it make sense? Because Eliza shows up out of nowhere. She's got a gun. She's killing some owls, and she says,
I forgot about the owl.
She says it's like it could be a Kryptonian. How? What? How does that make sense?
It doesn't.
Because she's got a gun. How does shooting owls with a gun make her like a Kryptonian?
Listen, Rebecca, just let me have this. She's shooting owls out of the sky. There are killer owls in this episode. I just needed one moment of normalcy, and that weirdly felt like it. And if you think about it too much, it doesn't make any sense, much like most of this season.
People are like, "Oh, such a great line." I was like, "Why? Why is that a great line?" It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it doesn't. I'll agree with you. It made no sense. It made me happy. And in an episode where she's shooting an owl, I just needed something.
She showed up out of nowhere with a gun. Why and how?
Who even invited her?
I don't understand it. But yeah, so other than that, I was glad that Eliza actually got to go to the wedding. That was nice for her to be included because her daughter was getting married. That was a nice thing. I guess the only other set of people maybe that we haven't talked about are Wynn and Kara.
Ooh.
So do you have any thoughts on their attire?
I thought Wynn looked very sharp. I loved his tie. And Kara, I really liked Kara's outfit. I thought it was so cute. And the color was really nice and very flattering on her. And I liked her little hair piece that she had, and like the way that she did
like
her
her
hair
hair.
in the updo was so cute. And I actually think, they talk a lot about the glasses in these scenes, but the glasses looked so adorable on her. It's like kind of nice to have like a normal, regular Kara look after we've been getting a lot of Supergirl and not a lot of Kara in the last few episodes. So it was really nice to have Kara in this. And also the version of We Belong that Kara and Wynn sing is so good. And I demand that they release it so that I can buy it and listen to it. Like, if maybe was my favorite moment of the finale, but I just really liked that they gave Jeremy Jordan and Melissa Benoist a chance to sing. They're very good singers, and that was a very good version of that song. And it felt perfect for a wedding, and I just really liked that moment.
Yeah, I was glad that they leaned into letting their talented people show off one last time. And "We Belong" is one of my favorite songs. So I think they did it justice. Because if they had done it poorly, it would have been offensive to Pat Benatar. But I thought that they did a good job with it. So I was glad to see them get to sing that together, and they really did do a great job. So kudos to Jeremy and Melissa on that. Well, I guess that covers Boardroom or Ballroom for this week. Thank you, Morgan, for guiding us through the wedding looks, and getting through to see what everybody was wearing and what they were sporting as they went to the wedding.
And this has been
Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom.
All right, let's wrap up this series finale discussion by talking about the endpoints, where everybody ended up. Because this is a finale, we're trying to get to the end where we tell the audience what your favorite characters are going to be doing and where are they heading. So Morgan, what did you think about everybody's endpoints? I guess we could just. Do you want to go character by character, or do you have like specific ones that you want to talk about? I mean, we could save Carr for last, I think.
Yeah, no, I think we could go character by character. So I liked the Brainy and Nia one caused me a lot of confusion, I would say. I liked it, but also
did he just let his entire alien race die?
Maybe.
And like blow up the space-time continuum because he had a girlfriend?
He might have. The future might be murky. Maybe that's why Mon-El will never be back in this time.
But if all of the Kaluans die out, how is Brainy still alive?
Let's not think about it. Let's just let it ride.
Wouldn't that be like a Back to the Future, fading out of the picture situation?
I struggled with this one. Not because I don't want Nia and Brainy to be together.
I mean, that's great. Happy ending.
So
great.
Glad that they're together. It does make you kind of wonder, from a writing standpoint, why bring up this whole thing where he has to go back to the future and merge with the big brain to save his people, when you're just going to not have him do that at all. Like when he's just going to come back and be like, JK guys, I'm back. And like a classic Brainy prank. And you're like, what about the future? He's like, screw that. Like, really? Okay. All right. We're just fine with that. We're just going to let this happen. Good luck. And there's, I think we talked about the fact that there's a Canadian version of the episode, a better Canadian version of the episode. In the Canadian version of the episode, I'm sure that you've seen the 2 or 3 deleted
if people don't know, there is an extended version of the series finale. It is streaming on the CW's website and the app right now, and you can probably find clips of it on Twitter. I thought about linking them in the video description, but that's kind of an illegal thing. So I will just suggest you go check it out, stream it on the CW app or website, and you'll be able to see the extended scenes there.
Yeah, so I think there's 3 or 4 extended scenes. One of them, which is I think that Cara and Lena conversation, has a little bit more to it in the Canadian version. And then there's a scene with Esme, a really cute scene with Esme and James where he gives her a camera. In my mind, she breaks the camera. It becomes the origin story for her to start the News Gal Legion. Nobody can tell me otherwise because this show is over.
So much.
But then there's also a Nia and Brainy scene in which Nia catches the bouquet. Fun fact, watch Katie McGraw in that scene as she throws the bouquet. Doesn't even make an attempt for it. I like that energy. She's like, I'm good. I'll pass. And so Nia gets the bouquet, and Brainy's like, "There is a 100% chance we are getting married." And I was like, Well, then why did you bring up the brain?
Well, they've done that all season, right? They've introduced something, they set up some stakes, and then they just took it away. Like, what was it? What was even the point of that?
There was no point. And then you have to wonder, you're like, you understand that, like, that you don't have to write it this way. You could have just not had the whole big brain thing at all. And we would have been super excited about Brainy and Nia ending up together and getting married. And we probably would have thought a little bit about the future, but we would have been like, probably it's chill. But now I'm like, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be chill. And that's because they like underlined, if he doesn't go back, bad things happen.
And he
then
just shrugged it. He just shrugged it off.
He doesn't even
Like it was no big deal.
He doesn't even explain why it's okay. He doesn't even explain it.
Also,
He's just like, it's chill. And you're like, but why?
Also, what does this mean for Dream Girl, for Nura and all?
Nothing good.
Because Brainy says something about you're my dream girl.
Well, she is now.
So I guess is there no dream girl in the future? Because I thought it was sort of hinted that like Brainy and Dream Girl had maybe a relationship in the future.
Let's hope not. That's weird.
And then I'm like, well, maybe they somehow create Dream Girl in the future, but like if that's the case, if they have like a little daughter who grows up and becomes Dream Girl, then what does that say about Dream Girl's relationship to Brainy? I'm thinking about
nothing you want to think about, that's for sure.
So I'm just like making assumptions that somehow they are like going to somehow produce Dream Girl in the future, but
I don't know.
I don't understand. Like,
I don't,
what does that mean for Nura?
I don't think it means anything good. But who knows? Who really knows it all? Do you think Nia's still a journalist, or do you think that ship sailed?
Oh no, she's definitely going to be working under, and we'll talk about Kara's ending, but she's definitely going to be working under editor-in-chief.
She's going to be a star reporter. She's never going to show up. She's never going to be
like, I know the boss. The boss and I are really good friends.
She's going to get lost in the office the one time she decides to go into the building. Oh my God, there's so many floors. I did like that they ended up together because obviously we saw this relationship, we were invested in it, and they got back together this season. They were really cute. I just wish they hadn't brought up the having to go back to there was no reason to bring that up. Like no one was asking about it. And so now that you've underlined it, now I'm confused about it, but okay, that's fine. Jean, so Win is like, hey, Jean, cool convo, bro. Great wedding. Did you know in the future you and Magan have a son? He's totally cool. And I went, again, with the time travel, like you shouldn't be telling somebody that.
No, when the Legion came in, weren't they really like tight-lipped about letting people know about that plague that was affecting everything with the world killers?
Yeah, because in a way, like, doesn't that, knowing that, change
that sort of forces Jean
right?
to have a child with Magan.
Gonna change your behavior, right? Like you're like, oh, if things aren't like, maybe him and Magan in the future, she's gone out for another pack of cigarettes and hasn't been back in 6 months, and he's like, I gotta make this work for little Jean Jr. Like, little future Jean Jr. who I know is coming. Like I don't know. That also bothered me a little bit. I was like, I mean, I understand that like from a writing standpoint, they wanted to let you know that like Jean was going to, him and Magan were going to go off into the sunset and they were going to have a kid and be happy. And that's great. But like, maybe there's another way. Maybe Wynn could have said it to somebody else and then been like, shh, don't tell him.
Yeah.
Shh, you don't want to change his future in any way. Or something. I mean, I don't know.
Just don't straight up say stuff.
Don't say it. And also, again, where is she? Where is Magan? Someone save her from the mural. My God, she's been there so long.
What if she did show up at the wedding and everybody's like, oh my gosh, Magan, where have you been?
She's gonna like, I've been patrolling. Did Supergirl come back? How long have you been here? You were supposed to call me.
And speaking of Jean, he mentions they're gonna reestablish the DEO, and it's gonna be a peaceful organization,
A peaceful
gonna-
secret government organization.
and they're gonna do it right this time. What did you think about that?
Made me laugh because they're like, listen, it didn't go great the last time. And it did.
Was Ramakan's destruction for nothing?
And Ramakan did just take down that whole building and it ended in rubble. But this time, everything's gonna be different. And I was like, sure.
It's gonna be peaceful.
It's gonna be
So how are you going to take care of the extra normal threats?
It's gonna be a peaceful organization where we peacefully hold people without due process.
Please, we're begging you. Please do not destroy the city. We're asking you nicely. We brought you cookies. Is that enough to persuade you
My friend
not
Carr
to destroy the
here
buildings?
wants to give you a speech. Hello, alien race. I see that you are trying to take over Catco. Have you considered hope? I can't wait for the new DEO. But I feel like,
Do you think the new DEO could have director bones?
well, that's what I'm saying. So now they've reestablished the DEO, right? So
And
now
they need a new director, and so they get the resumes.
So now Mr. Bones, he's a Mister now. He's not a director yet. And so he has a corporate ladder to climb, is my point. He's the DEO is not a now thing for him, but it is a later thing. And I think, again, headcanon, and they can't prove me wrong anymore. They can't. They just can't. Is that he will someday become head of the DEO, and no one can tell me otherwise because this show is over.
I'd like to believe that Jean was holding interviews for the position of director, and Mr. Bones walks in, and Jean's like, "Okay,
and
you're hired."
Mr. Bones walks in. He's got the already framed photo of his supervillain days, and he just kind of has it under his arm, and he's like, "I've reformed." And John's like, "You know what? Seems rock solid to me. You're hired."
Extra normal. Well, let me tell you about my invisible flesh and my cyanide sweat. I am all about extra normal.
John's like, "I love it."
So
My wife is in a
definitely think
mural.
that's happening.
I love it. Yeah, now the DEO thing was kind of, I don't know. Okay, sure. I kind of almost feel like I wonder if they set up the DEO thing as like bringing the DEO back because they want that around for like future Arrowverse like crossover stuff, where they can be like, oh, the DEO, we're calling up the DEO or whatever it is. That's fine. I was kind of excited that they were bringing it back. I was like, oh, back to like Supergirl classic.
Yeah, so I guess it makes some sense. I don't know. It just feels like the DEO was so corrupt that I don't know. I guess they're starting over, and
Well, this time it's going to be great.
They're going to do it right. They're going to figure out the better ways to do
This
it.
time it's going to take years and years for them to get corrupt again.
Even though they could have done that right the whole time. Jean was in control. Alex was in control. They had power over the DEO, and they never changed anything.
This time they're going to redo it, but better. Better this time. Yeah, no, I thought that was pretty funny. Who else?
Lena's endpoint. Do you think?
Oh,
she's,
I guess
do
we
you
can
think
talk
she's
about
rich
Alex,
again?
Alex and Kelly.
Oh, okay. Let's go to Alex and Kelly first.
Alex and Kelly. I feel like they got a very like neatly tied ribbon on their storylines. At least Alex, I guess both of them. So they've adopted little Esme. I guess there's no conflict of interest there for Kelly, and it's totally chill and fine. And they got married, and I think that's like it's a nice place to leave Alex's character. And in the vows, Alex even talks about how she struggled to realize who she is, and now she's like her most complete self with Kelly, and I thought that was really sweet. Kelly's vows were a little meaner, I have to say, because I love that Kelly was like, we've been together for a couple years. I wasn't so sure of you until Blind Spots, an episode that was like 5 episodes ago. And I just tried to imagine if during our vows, Mike was like, we've been dating for, 4 years. And just 4 months ago, I decided you were the one. I would have kicked him. But Alex was totally chill with it, which was really accepting of her. I mean, I thought that their vows overall, I'm nitpicking because I found that to be very funny, but I thought their vows overall were very sweet and very heartfelt, and I liked them a lot. And I liked what Kelly was saying, which is like, you didn't try to fix me, you just let me be me. It was funny that it was like, oh, that was like 5 episodes ago, Kelly. You weren't sure until then? You're already on the way to adopting a child, but okay. But I think for Alex, it was such a nice arc that she had, and the show sometimes forgot about her a little bit. But at least this season, I feel like it remembered that she wanted a child, and it had her adopt a kid. It waited a little while. To be honest, it waited a little while. It remembered a lot of people's storylines in this back half and shoved them in real fast. But but I liked Kelly's scene with James and like them guarding together.
Oh yeah,
and
that was awesome.
And then the wedding scene of them together was really touching, actually, and I really liked it a lot. And I thought that they had like a nice scene, and I thought that the vows were really nice, and I liked where they left Alex and Kelly, together with a child, and we see them all together at game night, and they're, all having a good time. And we had one last, we'll talk about it later, but we had one last Alex and Cara couch scene, which was really nice. And so I think that they left Alex and Kelly, but particularly Alex, in like a really nice place. If you look at where she started out in the show, and like she feels less like she's got, the weight of the world on her, and like all this responsibility for her sister, and she's started her own life, and she's got her own family. And I thought that was a really nice place to have that character, as we, they continue on, but we leave them. So
yeah, I thought a little bit of the wedding was maybe, I guess they had to make the wedding a big deal, but part of that episode made it feel like it was like all about the wedding.
It was.
And I was kind of like, I was that Judge Judy gif on Twitter where I was like, we've got 20 minutes left. You got to wrap up Supergirl's story in 20 minutes. Get away from this wedding. So I was kind of clicking the countdown clock on. But I guess they wrapped up a lot of the things at the wedding. So that made sense, but it just felt like so much of it was about the wedding, and I was kind of like, I get it, but I wish it had given the opportunity for something else. Like Cara has this conversation with Kat at the wedding. It's like, do you have to do everything now? But yeah, I mean, I guess they had to.
I have one other wedding nitpick that I just remembered, and it was Eliza telling Alex that she was a better mother.
Me too. I was like, how?
I was like, sorry, I love Alex, right? Let's establish that my love for Alex is strong. Alex has been a mother for like 1 month, and her child's already been kidnapped.
And she also made a really selfish decision to like save her child over the world, which I get. I get it. I understand it. But like,
maybe Mother of the Year. Maybe that Mother of the Year trophy is not in the mail quite yet.
I did not understand that either. She was like, "You're so much wiser than I ever was." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, what? Based on what information? Eliza?
Are there off-screen moments as Alex is a mother that we didn't see? Is there a Canadian version of this that made it so much better and made sense?
The Canadian version must be so good. But like, just in like one of the last episodes, like Alex and Cara were arguing about what to do with Esme's powers, and And Alex was like, I just don't know. I don't have this whole mother thing figured out. And like one episode later, her mom's like, you know what? I wasn't a great mom, but you're a better mom than me already. And I was like, Eliza, don't sell yourself short.
You
no
raised
Lillian
an
Luther.
alien child while your husband was assumed dead.
Well, your husband was off in the bushes somewhere. Like, what?
Let's not forget that Alex was like out partying with her fiance while her child was kidnapped, and they left her alone with a guy who had no way to protect them.
Or even like
Mother of the year.
even just some numbers to call in case of emergency. They didn't give him anything.
I'm glad that you found that strange too, because I was like, how?
I was like, okay, now we're laying it on a little thick. Listen, we're all happy for Alex, right? We're all happy for Alex. Let's not throw her a parade about being a mother quite yet.
It's like that guy in the prison who was like, Car Danvers, best journalist.
You're the best journalist I've ever read. It's like, and you don't read much, or is that what's happening? Yeah, it's like, unfortunately, this show is like, you can't just be like a decent version of, you can't just be getting by. You have to be the best version of everything. And it's like, I don't think that's been established. I don't think we've established that quite yet, have we?
Yeah, I don't know that I bought it. So I guess we talked about everyone.
Oh,
but
I was gonna
Lena
say, speaking of kind of the Lena thing and tying into Alex and Kelly, one of the Canadian cutscenes is them asking Lena to be Esme's godmother.
which is strange.
It's strange.
Why wouldn't you ask your sister?
I have to assume
Is that
Lena's
not allowed? Because and this may be my ignorance, but I always assumed that godmothers would be a Catholic thing.
Yes.
So first of all,
Are they Catholic?
are they Catholic?
It's
We've
news-
never
news
talked
to
about
me.
that ever. And then second, can like can your siblings be a godparent? Is there like
Yes,
some is there some sort of
absolutely.
rule where
My-
like Kara couldn't be?
My godmother was my aunt, and my godfather was my uncle. So yeah.
So why
Like,
wouldn't they make
absolutely.
Kara the godmother? Why jump to Lena? What makes Lena the
So-
what's the qualification for
I
Lena?
have to assume it's because Lena is crazy rich.
Maybe so. Maybe
I
they're
don't think it
we need
makes-
Esme to like have a great life.
Now that Lex is gone and Lillian is dead, God rest her soul, I think Lena gets all that Luthor money. She's back on top, baby. And maybe that's what the outfits are about. She's like, listen, I'm gonna put my witch hair behind me and I'm gonna slick it all the way back and I'm gonna wear the weirdest thing possible. I'm a Luthor again. I've got my money. Yeah, she's really I don't understand. Other than that, I don't feel like that makes sense, but okay, you know what? I'll go with it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Because I was loving the Kara Esme moments at the wedding, where Esme was like, "And Kara and I build these birdhouses together," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the cutest thing." I
So
wish we
cute.
had more Esme and Kara scenes, because I would like to believe that little Esme mimicked Kara's super speed, and they made a whole bunch of birdhouses really quickly.
Oh, that'd be so cute.
That's-
Why couldn't we have gotten more Esme and Kara like family time?
Oh
And
my
I
gosh.
want more
When she
Aunt
said Aunt
Kara.
Kara, I was like, oh, my heart just melted. Oh,
I
it
know.
was so cute.
I know, so cute. So I guess that like brings us to Lena's story, like the Lena's ending. So I really liked that Lena and Kara scene at the wedding where they're talking about Lena's like, I'm free now. I'm free to be the witch of my dreams. I'm incredibly rich and I'm dressed like a I'm dressed like a mafia vampire. I'm living my best life now, Kara, and you should live your best life too. She was like partying at the wedding, dancing it up. There was a moment where, like, this is the finale, so God bless. But there was a moment where I know a lot of people talk about, the show, queer baiting and things like that. And there was a moment where they have Kara like talking about like Alex and Kelly having just gotten married, and she's so happy for them, and she's like, yeah, like, I'm, kind of like that she's jealous, or that like she's thinking about what she wants to do next. And then the camera pans over to Lena and like zooms in, and she's like, come dance. And then it just stays on her for a second, and I was like, are they really doing this in the finale? What are they doing? What are they doing? Because I knew they weren't going to commit to it. I knew it. So I mean, I feel like they gave the shippers I don't know. They gave them a nice scene basically, and they left it open-ended, very open-ended, because Kara doesn't end up with the love interest, which I think she's, not even 30, right? So, and she's Supergirl, so I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody else got paired up, which is a little annoying that they didn't give her anybody, but it is what it is. But
I personally would have loved Kenny Lee to come back. Because why bring him back to life if you're going to do so? In my mind, I guess I'm not really going to go into the shipping stuff, but I guess I could just say that like you could take from it whatever you wanted to take from it. You definitely can't say Kara and Mon-El are going to be a thing in the future, because he made that very clear.
Never in this lifetime.
But if you wanted to say that Kara and Lena could be something in the future, you could do that. If I could say, hey, one day, editor-in-chief Kara Danvers, I guess she's still going to go by Kara Danvers. Sure. I don't know if she's going to, because Kat introduces her as Kara Danvers, I think, on the news broadcast. One day, Kenny Lee shows up at Catco to see editor-in-chief Kara Danvers, and they rekindle a relationship. That's what I would like to think, based on the show bringing him back to life for some reason. So I guess you could. It is open-ended that you can kind of write your own story for Kara.
They do leave her story very open-ended in a way, and I would say that they leave her story open in such a way that, like, the way that they end her story, I was almost like, I can't believe that we don't have another season of the show to like just get into it and explore it. Finally, a Kara story I want, and it's going to happen in my imagination. So, but yeah, I like where they left Lena. I thought that Kara and Lena scene was really good, about Lena like coming to terms with who she is and her journey as being like, this standoffish Luthor who felt like she was defined by her name. And now she's like, I'm wearing purple, but I'm, I am who I am now. And I'm, part scientist, part witch, all Lena Luthor. She started the Lena Luthor Foundation. What does that do?
What is it?
What is it? What does it do? A mystery that we can, again, much like, who Kara or Lena ends up with in the future, you can sort of write that yourself.
Okay, I'm going to pitch the Lena Luthor Foundation.
Yes.
Okay. The Lena Luthor Foundation is where Lena gives clothing to those who cannot afford their own clothing for like business interviews and things like that, or like school or something. So it's like a clothing donation where she provides clothing to those less fortunate.
It's like Dress for Success, only like the women get it and they're like, when am I supposed to wear this ball gown to? And Lena's like, a job interview, of course. And they're like, I don't think that's a Miss Luthor, I don't think that's what you would wear this to. And she's like, isn't it? And they're like, Miss Luthor, are you wearing a meat dress? And she's like, yes, of course.
So that's my headcanon for the Lena Luthor Foundation.
I think I like that. I think that is it is perfect. The logo of it gave me no indication. It's just like a tree. Maybe the Lena Luthor Foundation is bringing magic to the masses.
Oh yeah, possibly, yes.
She's just like she's handing out twigs for people to sniff. She's teaching young girls to make poultices and live off the woods, like just like these are the berries you can eat and these are the berries you can't.
I think that's also a very good idea.
I think maybe it's like a two-pronged foundation where she gives people clothing to wear to dress their best selves, and then she also takes them into the woods to teach them magic. And it's a little bit of a scary foundation because I don't know that I would want to go into the woods and like whatever Lena's going to be wearing is going to be weird. gonna come with like a full veil and like a Victorian morning outfit. She's like, into the woods we go. And you're like, I don't think I should go with you.
I would not, but maybe she has like a summer camp for young.
A witch's summer camp. I think we're really pitching a spin-off that I would actually like to see.
Like starring Lena Luthor and the camp kids.
It's called Witch for a Summer ! And Lena, starring Lena Luthor, and she's got like a little camper's outfit with like a whistle around. I think this is a perfect endpoint for Lena. It makes total sense.
Yes,
so good.
Okay,
so that brings us to Kara.
Yeah, I guess one thing before we go to Kara is that I liked the Lena Kara scene, but I also thought it was strange that they didn't have an Alex Kara moment at the wedding. Like, wouldn't that be a great time for them to reflect on? I mean, I guess they did it a little bit on that in that couch scene, but it seems like you would want to like say goodbye to one of the the people closest to you. Like Kara was just like way back there watching them drive off, and I was like, that's your sister getting married. Like, shouldn't that be a bigger deal?
I'm glad that they had that scene at the end with the game night, because if it had ended like after the wedding, I would have been grumpy that there wasn't an Alex and Kara scene. And I'm still upset that like as great as the as great as the Kara and Lena scene was, and I thought it was really well done, and both the actresses like did such an amazing job, especially when like Kara takes off the glasses and like gets emotional about like living this double life. I thought that was really great, but I would have loved a Kara and Alex scene at Alex's wedding. Like Kelly got a scene with James at her wedding.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she had the scene with Eliza. But that scene was more about Eliza and Alex's relationship.
And it was weird.
And it was weird. It felt a little false. But yeah, so that's just all I was going to say about the Lena Kara stuff. So the Kara thing, so what did you think about her endpoint and where she ends up?
I liked it. I think I liked it in general. I don't know why it's necessary for her to tell everybody her secret identity. I think it's going to bring up a lot of journalistic questions as she moves into the editor-in-chief role at Catco that she's been covering herself for many years. But the show doesn't have to care about that or get into it anymore, so I guess it's chill. But I mean, in theory, I liked it. In practice, I think if I thought about it too hard, it didn't. But in theory, I really liked it. Like, it was a Kara story, and I've been starved for those, so I'll take that.
I mean, they waited until the very last 12 minutes.
Yeah, they waited.
The series.
There's like, there were like 15 minutes left, maybe 10, and they were like, right, I think this show is about somebody. I don't remember what her name is. And then they finally gave us a Kara story. I loved the scenes with her and Kat were great. Having Kat Grant back was like chef's kiss. It's like really what the show. It kind of reminded me of like what the show was in its early days, and what the show, the version of the show that I fell in love with, and like where Kat was there, and like even after Kat was there, there was like a draft from Kat that was really good. But yeah, the idea, I was a little surprised that she was surprised that Kat knew she was Supergirl, because hadn't we established that Kat knew she was Supergirl? Like, didn't we already know that?
We knew. Kara did not.
Okay. So I didn't realize that. Okay, that makes sense, because I was like, I thought we all knew that she knew. I thought we knew that she knew that she knew. But I liked the idea of her struggling with her two identities. I don't know that the season earned that out. Like, I feel like the show thinks that it spent all season talking about that. It absolutely did not. But I mean, the series has at times played around with that, like, back in season 3 when she was like, I'm Supergirl now, just all Supergirl, forget about Kara Danvers. And so this show itself has played with like the difference between Kara and Supergirl, and how they're the same person, but sometimes they're different people. do I think that like, I don't know. I don't know that they built it up enough this season to have that be like the end point for her journey, but I thought it was a good end point for the character's journey, even if it wasn't earned by this particular season. And I liked that she got to be editor-in-chief of Catco. That I thought was really cool.
Oh, it's almost like we maybe had already talked about that 2 years ago. I feel like we should
maybe
go back in time 2 years to revisit when we talked about that.
Oh,
I never really thought about this until now, and I don't know why. But now, if it was my show, I would have Kara's endpoint for her to be the Cat Grant at the end of the show.
Yes.
Am I late to this party?
Oh, I like that so much.
Did everyone else come to this conclusion before me, and I've just now had this realization?
I mean, I don't think so. I think this is something that we're discovering right now.
We're the only ones who have thought about this.
We are the only people who have ever thought this thought. How dare you, Rebecca?
So yeah, I wasn't all that surprised.
We called it
by the choice.
We did it.
So I that was one thing that I was like, there were multiple ways they could have ended the show that I would be happy with. If Supergirl went to the future with the Legion, I would have been cool with that. If Kara decided to go adventuring with Kenny Lee, I would have been cool with that. But I think, making her the editor-in-chief of Catco, it makes sense. I mean, theoretically, she was never really there at Catco and didn't do a whole lot, but I think in terms of her
earn it so much,
her
hard work,
yeah, her character arc and her journey, I think it's a nice payoff, and it does stink though that we'll never get like Kat and Kara working as like a team where Kat is the boss and Kara is the editor-in-chief. I'm sad that we'll never get that, because I think that would have been a really fun dynamic to play out. But I think it's an appropriate ending for Kara to have spent all that time at Catco. It's weird that they had her quit her. I guess she had to quit her job at Catco to realize that she was going to struggle with the balance, the work-life balance, and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, you quit your job, but now you're going back to be the editor-in-chief. Okay. But I did think that was the right choice.
Yeah, I love her taking over Catco. I love Cat Grant buying back Catco. I thought that was great. And I like the revealing her secret identity is kind of stupid, but I liked it from like I think I liked it more from an emotional perspective than like a story or a plot perspective, because from a story or plot perspective, I was like, wait, so is like Esme just going to get kidnapped a whole bunch now? Or
that's the whole purpose of the secret identity. But do you think the people of National City are like, oh my gosh? They're all like, yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Yeah.
That
just looks just like herself.
Yeah. We've seen her on TV all the time.
She's, that girl who's on TV looks like that girl who's always giving us hope speeches. That makes sense a lot.
That checks out.
That checks all those boxes.
I don't think they're like,
mind is blown. It's like, that's why Supergirl is always hanging out with that girl from the DEO. And sometimes that girl calls her my sister.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Things are puzzle pieces are
really adding up.
But yeah, so I loved that Cat Grant was the one who had the exclusive of Supergirl admitting that she, Kara Danvers saying that she was Supergirl, and I really loved the it's on the big screens everywhere, because Kara loves being on television.
She just loves it so much.
Eats it up. But that moment at the end where she says that she's Supergirl and she smiles, I thought that was a great place to, a very hopeful place, actually. That even though they've run that word into the ground, absolutely, and driven over it several times at this point. But I liked, Melissa Benoist is such a good Supergirl. She's like the high water mark now of all future Supergirls, and she's just really made that character, even in the seasons where they forgot she was the main character, or she didn't have anything all that interesting to do, or the writing was not great. She always made me care about Kara, and she always made me love Kara. And her take on that character, I think, is like the definitive take on Supergirl. And so just to have like one more, one moment with her where she's happy and she's excited about the future and good things are coming her way, I think that's a perfect place for me to end with the character. Like I didn't want to I would have been okay with her going to the future, but I wouldn't have liked it, to be honest, because we've really established her here in National City, and this is where her support system is, and her family and her friends, and like the super friends or whatever. But like the ending it on a game night where Alex is a little drunk, and
Didn't she have a drinking problem though?
she's a little bit of a problem drinker, I think. Cara's like, it's funny that you're drunk. Should I take your glass though from now? Like, stop drinking. Remember that one Thanksgiving where she like gets the whole bottle out of
Yes.
the fridge in the background.
She had a problem.
But like, yeah, I love that she ends it on like a family game night, and all of our characters are there, and they're all, playing a game and having a good time. And outside her life is changing, really, if you think about it.
Yeah. She's not even
she's
paying attention to it.
she's marrying those two halves of herself that she's felt have always been kind of separate, and whatever happens from that point like happens, and she feels really hopeful about it, it seems like, in that interview. But in the present, she doesn't really care. She's with her friends and with her family, and her sister and her new niece and all of her best friends, and she feels happy and hopeful about the future. And I like leaving the character there, because I think the character, again, the hope thing has become too much. But I think the character is really a hopeful character. She's a really upbeat, sunny character, and bad things happen to her, and she's had to work through a lot of trauma. But I think her default is to really be optimistic and look on the bright side of life. And I like that we're leaving her in a place where she feels optimistic about her own future, and everything's coming up Kara. It's looking good for her. So I'd like that as an ending for her. Do I necessarily think she needed to reveal her secret identity? Not really. I don't think that, I don't think there was really like helping or hindering her, but I like that she feels better that she's like combined those two like parts of herself.
Yeah, I thought it was a really nice way to end the show. I know we've talked a lot in the past on Supergirl Radio, and this came up more so when the show started in season 1, where Ali Adler and Melissa Benoist talked a lot about the glasses being
Yeah.
like emotional, like an emotional. I don't know what you would call it, the glasses would display what Kara was feeling, like emotionally. Like if she was determined, she would rip the glasses off, or if she was nervous about something, she would sort of, grip them and wiggle them a little bit. And so the glasses and the way that Melissa would use the glasses were an emotional thing for Kara. And so I thought it was a nice touch. I don't know if they still were doing that. I don't know if that was still the philosophy with the glasses up until the finale, but when I look at that, I think about that, and the intention behind the glasses, and the idea that she would take them off and leave them behind says something about Kara's emotional state, and the choices she's making for her life. And I thought that was a nice touch to do that with the glasses. I really like that shot of the glasses there on the table, kind of as her way of kind of moving forward with her life. And I thought it was even though the show waited until the very last moment to make it a story about Kara, I did like that they ended the show. The final shot is on Kara, and I really, really liked that. And I thought it was a nice little touch there at the end to have her being interviewed by Kat Grant, who was, the first big interview she did as Supergirl. And so I think all of those things combined made for a really rewarding payoff for me as a Supergirl fan. I wish that had been more drawn out. I wish we had more of an arc for Kara. I wish we had more screen time for Kara and Melissa. But I think they at least landed, pun intended, that that ending point for Kara, and I was glad that they made the show about her at the very end.
I've got a question because I haven't really rewatched the finale. I plan to rewatch the final episode, maybe not the penultimate. I think I'm okay. But when she takes off her glasses in that conversation with Lena, does she just leave them there then? Is that after when she leaves them, or does she leave them later?
She leaves them at the wedding.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Because I know during that conversation with Lena, she takes off the glasses and like gets emotional. Does she? I don't think she puts them back on. I think she then like leaves them on like a thing in the wedding and like leaves them behind, but I don't remember, honestly.
I can't remember the
delicate
exact
balance of the glasses.
I can't remember the exact sequence, but she does leave it at the wedding.
Yeah, because I thought that was a nice moment for the Kara and Lena relationship, that they now feel so comfortable around each other, and she feels comfortable enough to like take off her glasses and be her true self and like cry about, how she feels disconnected from these two different identities. And I thought that was nice, especially as Lena's like, I've combined my witch and my science into one super Lena, and she stands before you, a vampire princess. and Kara's like, I want that too.
Yeah, and that's a big deal for the Kara-Lena friendship too, because for so long the secret identity and the glasses, kept them from being, real friends.
Yeah,
and so that was a pretty big deal, because that sent Lena off on her mind controlling the world.
There was a slight mind controlling the world situation. Somebody in the chat, R. Thompson in the chat, says she puts them on, hesitates, and then takes them off again. So that's what I was forgetting. I couldn't remember if she put them back on again, but I think that's a nice moment of her, taking the glasses off and leaving them.
Yeah, Donna also says she starts to put them back on and going to see Alex and Kelly off, then stops and puts them down on a barrel at the wedding. Thank you for the clarification, a live chat. So I do think that it was a good way to end the show. I don't know if I'm, completely happy with the season as a whole. We'll get to that in a future episode of Supergirl Radio. But
Just shaking my head, no.
But I think for the final episode, it was, it had some feel good moments. Some things didn't make a lot of sense. But for the character of Kara is my favorite character, and so I'm glad that they left her on a good note and something very appropriate for her character, and they actually seem to care about Kara in the last 10 minutes of the show. So I really appreciated that.
I wish that last 10 minutes had been more what the last season felt like.
Can you imagine if we had gotten a whole season that felt like that? Oh, wow.
Oh my God, that would have been
what that's like.
So good. That would have been so good. And I think that in the finale, we got such nice dropping off points for all of the characters that we really care about and we really love. And we got a nice Kara story. And what if the whole season had been like that? What if?
What if indeed? Well, Morgan, we have gone for a very long time.
Oh no, we did it. 3 hours.
We have gone for a very long time, and we were going to get to some tweets and snap judgments, but I think I'm going to call it, and we'll save the tweets and the snap judgments for next week. Hopefully we can wrap up our season retrospective and some of the feedback all in one live stream and get that knocked out. So our apologies for not getting to the feedback this week. We'll save all of it for next week since we're running long.
I feel like it was the CW's fault for putting those episodes back to back.
Well, and we also talked about, should we do them separate episodes? Should we talk about the Last Gauntlet as one thing and then Kara as one thing? It was but they aired them at the same time.
I was like, we're not gonna be able to avoid talking about how all the characters ended up. I don't think that's possible.
It all kind of went together. So thank you guys for showing up and hanging out in the live stream for so
long. We're sorry we talked. We had so many feelings. I had so many feelings.
So much to talk about. So I guess maybe, Morgan, we should just get to our wrapping up and call it a night, and we'll just come back and get to everything next week. So I guess that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio, discussing the 2-hour Supergirl series finale of The Last Gauntlet and Kara. So I guess we should get to some Supergirl Radio and some DC TV plugs. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio, Superman and Lois Radio, The Flash Podcast, and Legends of Tomorrow Podcast, Blacklight and Podcast, Batwoman Podcast 2, and Titans and Doom Patrol Podcast just for you. Justice League Dark Podcast, Green Lantern Podcast, Stargirl Podcast, Strange Adventures Podcast, and finally my favorite of the bunch, DC TV After Dark, where you're allowed to say fuck.
And speaking of the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store, we have some car designs in the store.
Yeah, so if you watch the series finale and you're like, oh, Kara is the main character of the show,
I will remind it briefly.
I need to get some Kara merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, all kinds of things in the TeePublic store, so definitely go check it out if you need to get some new Kara/Supergirl stuff. We got some good stuff in the store. And as always, we'd like to thank our Legion of Super sponsors for supporting Supergirl Radio. And these people are Michael, Sam, Anne-Marie, Yvonne, Quinn, Jessica, Nicola, Leslie, Susan, Abby, Erngard, Miriam, Cherie, Donna, Nicole, and Lizette. If you would like to become a supporter of the Patreon, we have 4 monthly levels. You can go check it out at patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. We appreciate everybody's support. And we've recently purchased something using Patreon support that we're not able to reveal yet because we don't have like what it's going to officially look like as of yet. But it will be something tangible that you will be able to see if you visit a certain city that has a certain statue in it. So we'll talk about that more as we get more back from it. But because of the support of the Supergirl Radio Patreon, we're hoping to do something cool to celebrate the show and the character of Supergirl and our community of Supergirl Radio listeners and viewers. So stay tuned for that. Just going to tease that out, but that's what we can do because of the Patreon. So thank you for everybody's support.
And as a reminder, is this true, Rebecca? Do they have one more day?
They have maybe 50 minutes.
As a reminder, you have several more minutes.
I'll give them less than an hour.
You have less than an hour to enter our Flat Supergirl photography contest. If you're listening to this, it's probably already too late. Sorry. The deadline is tonight, which is November 10th in some places. And right now I'm at the 11th.
Sorry.
At midnight,
so late.
Maybe wherever you are. To submit your photographs, you can download and print the Flat Supergirl. I mean, although if you haven't by now, you're in some luck.
You're probably not going to do it.
It's probably too late. But then you're going to want to cut out Flat Supergirl very quickly.
You could do it, though.
As quickly as you can. You cut her out. Then you're going to attach her with tape or glue to a popsicle stick and take a creative picture with Flat Supergirl. You're limited at this time of night into what you can do with Flat Supergirl.
Just be creative.
But maybe you want a midnight snack. Maybe you and Flat Supergirl want some cheesecake or something. Maybe you guys are watching the Golden Girls sitting on the couch in your comfy clothes. Take that picture and then post it as quickly as humanly possible to Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook and tag at Supergirl Radio and use the hashtag Supergirl Adventures. And we will soon pick a winner, and that winner will get a prize.
Yeah, Mark says Rebecca's setting the deadline in Central Time. Yes, I'm being very generous. You have 52 minutes, or maybe I'll say 11:59 p.m. Central Time. So because if you say 12 midnight, like that gets a little confusing for people. So 11:59 p.m. Get them in before then, and then Morgan and I will pick a winner. So we'll send you some cool stuff. All right. I guess we need to get to our personal plugs. If you would like to keep up with me, you can find me on Vero at Derby Kid, on Instagram at The Derby Kid. I'm also on a YouTube, my personal YouTube channel called Duck Milk Prod. You can find me doing live streams over there. I haven't been in a couple of weeks. I'm going to try to get back into it. I've just had so many conflicts on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So I got to maybe find a better time because I'm having a lot of conflicts. So I need to get back to my Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice critical reception reviews of the reviews. So that will be restarting soon. So stay tuned for that.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. And you can also find me as a co-host on DC TV After Dark, as well as Legends of Tomorrow podcast, which we had some scheduling conflicts this week. So we are also going to be doing a double episode. They weren't aired together. We just got confused and couldn't figure out our schedules, and so we are doing them together. So imagine it as a 2-part episode, even though they aired a week apart. We'll be recording that later this week, so you should have your fun 2-part episode later this week as well. So maybe you've gotten behind. Maybe it's a chance for you to catch up.
Yeah, so definitely check out the Legends of Tomorrow podcast and the DC TV After Dark podcast. This is what we refer to as the Morgan Glennon podcast universe. So definitely check them out if you have not already done so. Well, we have gone quite a long time. I said we were not going to do 3 hours, and I think we ended up over 3 hours. So my apologies to everyone for the extra long Supergirl Radio episode. But I think we talked about some good stuff. So I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And remember, the power of one individual is enough to move mountains.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!